So uncivilized.
Let me get this down here. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, because this computer it's been acting senile. So anyway, everybody out there, greetings and welcome to the 1/6 Scale Man proudly presents. You know what it is, Uncivilized Scoundrels Thursday night, and we got quite a bit to talk about today. I mean, this week in Star Wars has been glorious. Like literally, it has been glorious on all levels. I got my Echo figure in. That figure is incredible. Whoever has it, I know you're happy. We got Andor yesterday. We got Tales of the Jedi yesterday. And all I can say is, Filoni, we need more, bruh. We need more. We need more, bruh. Like this is what it mean. See, the thing is, it's like we've been wanting, I'll just wait. I'll just wait. We got Tales. We got so much Star Wars that dropped. It's going to be a lot to talk about. I cannot wait to talk about it. But I can't talk about it without the crew. We got to have the crew here with us, man. And I'm so glad to have everybody here. What is going on, people? How are you guys doing today?
What's good, man?
Hi.
Yeah. We got CC3PO in the building. We got Vinny in the building. We got in the building. Mario couldn't make it today, but he sends his love. His shout out to everybody out there. All you Jedis, we'll see you next week. But CC, how are you doing? CC, first off, before you even start talking, CC, when I watch Andor, for some damn reason, I am waiting for you to walk across the screen. Because I think that they've written this story around you. And the reason why I say that is because everybody in this show definitely doesn't give a fuck. Like they really don't. And I'm like, this is right up CC's alley. How are you doing?
You say that because it's a very the Coruscant world we've seen is very elegant. The more of Andor's world is very great. But I was gonna say it does seem like a world I would want to be a part of or be a part of, except they don't say fuck as often as I do. They kind of have better manners than I do. But yeah, I really enjoyed Andor. I have not seen Tales of the Jedi. I know I'm awful. But I've heard good things. I just haven't had a chance to. And I appreciate that it is 15-minute shorts. So I'm looking forward to being able to just binge watch it all at once like everyone else did.
I'm telling you, I didn't expect it to be the sleeper that it has been. I didn't expect it to be as great as it was. I mean, from first episode to end, and I didn't expect, honestly, once we start talking about it, to share or see or even feel a bit of sympathy for Dooku. I didn't expect that, but we'll definitely get into it. But CC, thank you for being here as always. Vinny, what's going on with you, brother? How you doing, man?
Feeling good, feeling great, man. Just busy week. Lots of work, getting work done. With my main job and what has become like my part-time job, just staying busy with these Inktober's every day. I got 4 more days of this, and then I'm free, and I feel like it'll be a relief. But it's been so much fun doing these every day. So, other than that, it's been a very slow, uneventful week for Star Wars. Man, I wish there would be some Star Wars content out now. I mean, I remember when Disney Plus started and they were, started dropping the Marvel shows slowly. And I was just thinking, man, once this machine is up and running and they have Marvel and Star Wars going in full throttle, it's going to be like heaven. And they've been trying their best to live up to that,
Mhm.
expectations. So it's been just a really bizarre time for going from the gap that we had growing up with no
Mhm.
Star Wars to now where we
Mhm.
got Star Wars just nonstop, and
Non-stop,
and
bro.
it's quality stuff that we're getting right now. So
Mhm.
I'm very, very appreciative. I don't take how great this shit is for granted at all.
Yeah.
It's been a hell of a few weeks with Andor, and we'll dive into Tales of the Jedi and how great
Yeah.
that was too. But otherwise, I'm great, man.
Yeah, definitely, bro. Appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
Always a pleasure.
Mm. How are you this evening? I see you got the Ahsoka brand on, and you are ready to start talking about these shows tonight. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I definitely feel inspired by Tales of the Jedi tonight. I am so excited about what we found out in it. I had to watch it a few times and talk to my mom about that's why that happened. Mom, don't you realize did you
Mhm.
see that? And my poor mother had to endure my I just couldn't stop talking about it. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to have somebody else who actually cares about and wants to hear about it. And there's just so much in it, and it just needs to be continued, like you said. They can't stop here, and I don't think they're going to stop here. I think there's a
Mhm.
lot more to come. I'm so excited, and it's always a good night when we're here talking about Star Wars. So,
Yes, yes,
Around
yes.
does the Ahsoka headdress, does that double as like a neck pillow like on airplanes? Can you just sit that down? It looks comfortable. It looks real comfortable.
it's hot, like it's on your head. Like there's no air. So I have the fan is on me. My hair is not out, but I have the fan on because it gets hot under here. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it looks comfortable as all
Yeah.
hell. It does. Like it looks like there's a level of comfort that can't be matched. Like, say if you're in a
but
plane, there you go.
your
Mhm.
head doesn't get to breathe underneath. That's why but it is very soft. It's soft.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. But yeah, thank you for being here, and thank everybody for out in the chat. Thank you all for being here as well. We got a lot to cover, a lot to
Mhm.
talk about. Now I know because now you guys can thank Cece because Cece hasn't seen it yet. So she was like, "Well, while we talk about it, Cece is gonna prepare, her segment, for later on." And she was like, well, I was like, well, no, let's just talk about Andor first. We'll get that out the way. So at least she's like, no, you got to give the people what they want because people have been wanting to talk about Tales first. So I was like, okay. Now that you put it that way, CC, since CC asked, you guys, we would talk about Tales first. I mean, and why not? Because it was just that much incredible. I mean, let me address the chat real quick to see who we got. We got Will Owens in the building. William Owens. We got Renz Talentino the Great. We got Charlie the Unicorn.
Man, man.
Tobar Keith is in the building. Oilers Workshop is here with us. What's going on with you, brother? We got the Islamic in the building. SBB is in the building. We got Best Guard Kid, aka Leg Day All Day. We got Mark P. We got the collector in the building. Charlie the Unicorn. We got who else we got out there? Mary Sullivan. Thank you for being here. Pedro Lopez. We got Prime Time Reviews in the building. Yo, what's up? What's up? What up? We got Xander in the building. Who else do we have here with us? A few more basically floating through that we're going to actually see here a bit later. We got Ninja Squirrel 30 in the building. What up? Thank you for being here as always. And yeah, so about yesterday, about Tales. Now, okay, so if we're going to talk about Tales, we got to start from the beginning. Okay, so let's if we're going to talk about it, we definitely have to start from the beginning. So we're going to start from the beginning, from the first episode, from the first entry. Now, if Baby Grogu took people by storm, then I'm gonna tell you like this: Baby Ahsoka was adorable in this episode. Baby Ahsoka was adorable in this episode. Filoni, like, now let me ask you a question. This was everything here was Filoni all day, every day, correct?
Filoni's baby, literally.
This was literally Filoni's baby. Filoni he's always been there, but literally coming into his own. And I think, in my opinion, this was a test. This was a test.
This was an audition, bro.
This was an audition. This was definitely a test. This was an audition. And I think he passed with flying colors. On top of that, he wanted to see how well we received it.
Mhm.
And I will tell you, Filoni, we definitely received it well. I'm gonna start with you first, because me and Vinny, I know we are super duper hype and we don't want to talk about this. This first episode, we get a chance to basically visit Ahsoka's home planet. We get a chance to meet her mother, her father. We get a chance to see the people, their rituals, everything. What, going into this from episode 1, what do you think? Like, what was your feelings towards it? Like, what did it get you from the word go?
It did. Obviously we knew this was Ahsoka as a baby, so it was wonderful to see her as a baby. But I had no idea what her life was like before she went to the Jedi Temple. So we've seen her species all over the galaxy, and this is the first time to really kind of see them in this kind of setting. In the Clone Wars, we've seen her people, I guess, as artisans, and we always knew that they were in touch with nature and that they could sense things around them.
Mm-hmm.
But this one was a little different. And her mom taking her out to hunt, having that experience was very interesting. They're almost like warriors, I guess. If they're going out to hunt, she's with a baby. Certainly something I'm not daring enough to do, but their culture, and certainly Ahsoka managed to make an impression on everybody. And there was an elder in the village, and we got to understand where her people, are, what their approach is. But I guess as soon as they found out, or they know what her abilities are, it's too dangerous for her to maybe stay there. So there is that. But this one was all about just learning about the culture of her people. So we got to see them in their natural setting, I guess, where where they live and the things they do from day to day. It was a nice introduction to something, and it wasn't. They didn't want to make it too overwhelmed and overburdened with, kind of, how should I say, things we've seen already. This was just supposed to be the cultural experience. If you walked right into their village and understand what life would have been like, let's say if she had stayed with her own people. So I thought that it was a very sensitive way to show their life. We didn't really see anything in regards to overburden with technology or anything like that. They look like a happy group of people. And, since they're already one with nature, that's something that I really haven't seen so much with Ahsoka. Maybe we'll see more, let's say, going forward, her ability to understand nature and her surroundings in a different way that apparently her people have anyway. They have it anyway, regardless as to whether they have the Force or not. So I think it's very interesting to see that and to experience that. Something they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do that, but they wanted to show us that.
Yeah.
I think they did a good job.
They did a great job. And I think, knowing that, again, for them, one of the biggest things is they're, in a sense, a warrior tribe. Like, literally, you know what I mean? They hunt. They're in tune with, spirituality itself. Able to, kind of like, and even with Ahsoka's mom, like, she's fearless. Like, literally, you can tell, like, she's a fearless person. Instinctively, a mom would do whatever for her child. But she is just no holds barred. Like, yo, like, you can't turn your eyes away from this. Like what she said to Ahsoka when she was little, you have to face your fears. You know what I mean? You have to, and she showed that, again, it was just everything about this episode was that as soon as I saw this episode, I was like, yeah, I'm all in. I'm in. I'm definitely in. Vinny, seeing that first episode, what did it do to you, bro?
Um, the first thing that jumped out at me was the appreciation for what this show is. The streaming service is able to do for the world building aspect of Star Wars. Like we're getting to see what life is like on, you know, different sections of Tatooine. We're getting to see what life is like on Coruscant now, with different
Yeah.
planets. We're getting to see what life is like all over the galaxy, and now we're getting to see what life is like for the Togruta people. And all since day one in Star Wars, there's been many alien races that have like kind of mirrored races that or cultures that are existent in our world. So this
Mhm.
was clearly like kind of in a on an adjacent to like a say a Native American type of race where they're warriors and they're hunters and they have face makeup and stuff that they do for different respectful you know you know uh rituals and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So it clearly was something that was a tradition about like her going hunting with the child. Obviously your first instinct is, somebody call a CPS. She's going hunting with a baby on a papoose is like just a gunfire alone. That's probably not the safest bet for a child, but it was all to they're obviously, their biology is probably different than ours. That baby looked like she was already understanding and learning what mom was teaching her along the way. Like, don't be afraid of death. Don't be afraid of this.
Mhm.
Be mindful of this. This is what to look for. All these things this kid's already learning from jump. And it goes to show why at such a young age, Ahsoka was able to hang with Anakin, the greatest of the
Yeah.
time. You know what I mean? At such a young age, and then it that's shown later in the show as to how far probably ahead of her class that she was her whole childhood, because this is how early on her culture gets going with knowledge and wisdom and fighting and all that stuff. Like they don't play around, they don't waste time. Is obviously a very practical and efficient people, and I loved everything about it. I love that we just got to see a little bit about her people and where they come from, and it goes to show uh it says a lot about Ahsoka too. Like you see, like we said, not a lot of tech in that village, so there's a lot of community instilled in her, and a lot of passion, and a lot of
Mhm.
cunningness and warrior attributes that like she takes with her into the tech world, and the you know main big cities and stuff like that, and she just brings all that with her, and you can see that she has that fire in her from the way her people are that never quite is kind of smashed out by the be emotionless and be serious and get rid of attachments. Like you could tell, like that's why her and Anakin get along so well, because he has that fire too. So
Mhm.
it said a whole lot without saying a lot, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And surprisingly enough, because I forgot all about this when we were at the panel, um, or when we were, at Celebration, it didn't dawn on me that Ahsoka's mom is played by Gina Kamanka.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. That because remember she was actually on stage. Like when we were there, I don't know if you were there, but she was on stage. She came on stage and she talked about it at the Star Wars panel, that Star Wars show panel. But yeah, that's who plays Ahsoka's mom, Gina
well, she did
Kamanka.
a fantastic job.
Yeah, she definitely did. And the thing is, like, she's been. I mean, she's in the Star Wars universe anyway.
Yeah.
They need to, make that Battlefront character real because I love that game. But yeah,
I
she's.
also I also
Mhm.
love that this show has kind of it's like cutting through juxtaposition that they'll not have to fight with going into her show. Like I
Yeah.
don't it's it'll be really cool it would make sense if they spend a lot of time showing who she is to new viewers who've never watched Clone Wars. But if they decide to go with, hey, it's all here, you could have watched it. This is even more backstory that they can say, look, do your homework now, so that way when we get to her show, we can just land on both feet running. And here's what she was like as a baby. Here's what she's like as a teenager. You can watch Clone Wars to see what 7 seasons of her life was like. So we can just get right into it. And so it's really smart move because her shit's coming, and this was a great like reminder for, look, people, you got time. This is who she is. Get ready, like do your homework, because we don't want to spend the first 3 or 4 episodes telling you who she is before we get to her point.
Yeah,
you make a good point. Like a lot of the origin stuff could just be animated tales or things like that.
Yeah,
that we don't have to worry about for the live action stuff that we want to see. Could be the more serious adult, versions of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, and it would definitely make sense because, again, you're filling in those blanks in that space. You're telling, and the thing is, they've shown with these 15-minute shorts, like some of them were 15, some of them were longer or shorter, whatever. But they're showing you how there's so much information that can be divulged without really going into like these long, drawn out episodes or these, entire series, especially if they want to save up. Because the thing is, like the animated shows, like you might as well say, like, for instance, with Clone Wars, had there not been Clone Wars, had there, not been Rebels, there probably wouldn't have been a Mando. You know what I mean? Because then you have all these characters that were thrusted into that universe. There wouldn't have been like a live action Ahsoka. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you're able to use the animated series as a vehicle to say, okay, cool, we can tell this story, flesh out these characters. And then once you get to the live action, you'll already know everything that you need to know. It's like, okay, cool. Then I understand why this person's this way. And I think it's brilliant to do so. Considering when they started, it makes so much sense. You know what I mean? I'm definitely, happy that they can do that. I mean, this first episode was crazy. We saw Ahsoka's fearlessness, coming into her own, taming the beast bringing her back home. The wise lady, I forget her name. Basically, she, letting them know that, Ahsoka's Jedi, that's basically what she is, what I mean, recognized for what it is and the power that she possesses. So definitely amazing episode to kickstart the rest. But then we get to episode 2 and we meet the young Count Dooku and we meet the young Qui-Gon Jinn. And I must say, like, literally, now here's the thing, which is crazy, and this is like has to be some type of homage, because why does he look like what he would have looked like in Count Dracula, bro? Like, don't he, bro? He literally looks like Count Dracula. Like,
but he has a little bit of an exotic look to him.
Yeah.
And what they were trying to show is maybe perhaps how much command he had. He was an important Jedi, an incredibly important Jedi, and I think maybe that's why they have him in such an austere kind of way, very stiff.
Yeah.
As he's stiff and has that look on his face, it means he's not open to listening to anything. But then as the episode progresses, you can kind of see more emotion in his face, and then he doesn't look so stiff and like he couldn't hear what someone else has to say, especially in this particular case.
Yeah, definitely. And it was good to see it because you see the connection with Qui-Gon. Again, we wanted to basically see, between the two, the dichotomy between both, master and apprentice. But what was dope about this is because you actually see, we know from the Dooku that we basically know, we know that he was really calculated, but at the same time, evil. But, again, we know that evil can be seen from a certain point of view. To him, what he was doing was right. You know what I mean? No matter what, you know what I mean? And based off of what we know about the Republic now, in the Empire now, you look back and say, well, was he necessarily wrong? Because it's like he foreseen this coming, and he did warn them that there was something else at play here. But the thing is, we get a chance in this episode to see how intelligent he really is, how calculated and like he's just really like elegant really walks through, assesses the situation, but he can tell you everything.
Yeah.
And he probably knew everything, but he just, and again, it became like more so a teaching lesson to Qui-Gon, you know, in a sense. But it was so this episode, I was like, yeah, I'm all in. Like it was so
Yeah.
dope. What you got to say about it, babe?
I loved first of all, I loved the character design for Qui-Gon because
Yeah.
that looks, I mean, if you didn't know what you were watching, you would be like, yo, that looks like a young Qui-Gon without having any context.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
he looked more like a young Qui-Gon than Dooku looked like a young Dooku.
Yeah.
That's
True.
it looks like it could have been Qui-Gon's kid if it wasn't young Qui-Gon.
Yeah, right.
Because it's
Yeah.
real subtle. It doesn't look like they just, you know, did a de-aging CGI thing. It looks like it just was really, I mean, it was just a great character design on his part. I definitely loved Dooku's air about him, like a lead detective walking in and just knowing everything and how to pick apart everything, just knowing everything that's going on, and if what he doesn't know, he knows how to find out. So I like that like mystique and air about him, and it goes to show, you know, like he brought that into, you know, the Clone Wars. Like he had so much like strategy, masterfulness, you know, like he was always one step ahead of the Jedi, and always just had so many, you know, intelligent, incredible plans, and he was such an asset to Palpatine that, I mean, Palpatine always gets so much of the credit for masterminding the war, and a lot of it was Dooku. So it was great to see him in action in his you know, prime, even though as a OG he was incredible as well. But he was great here. I love that. It wasn't a black and white turn for him. He was conflicted, and he just was you know, had things that he wanted to see get done and change, and you know, the council was rigid, and he went, you know, off book to figure out how to get what he wanted done. But yeah, it was the second episode was like, okay, you know, it was amazing.
It's like he you brought back the Sherlock Holmes. I know Lee played Sherlock Holmes a few times, right?
Yeah.
And also you mentioned something very interesting, Vinny, about how it looked like it was Qui-Gon's child, you know, like if he had a kid or when he was that age. And I think that picture that we saw of the two of them together, I think what we actually saw as well is that Dooku sees Qui-Gon as his child almost.
Yeah.
And we get a sense of how much Qui-Gon means to Dooku. I should say Dooku. To Dooku, because Dooku, you know, clearly, and if, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but he kind of pushed away his family a little bit. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So now, you know, this whole thing has become his universe. And honestly, Qui-Gon was a very special person. And so I think that when, I'm not going to say he failed to protect him, but let's just say when he died, that was like losing a son.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, is like you felt the connection. Like he was really sad, like really sad, like, and you felt it. Like, you know what I mean? You really, 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 really felt that. Because it was like sadness and regret. And we'll talk about that episode once we get to it. But this episode, like literally, I mean, we just saw how, again, how Dooku was, and this is how I want Batman to be in the DCEU universe, like literally, because he was so calculated. He put two and two together. He knew right off the bat, like just by looking, you know what I mean, and the things that he felt. You know, he knew that, again, something was at play. You know, when you're basically taking you're taking out a Jedi on, you know, on a high council, under those circumstances, like it couldn't have been that easy. You know what I mean? So, you know, he's figuring it out, piecing everything together. But then at the same time, understanding that these people really, you know, and their tactics for wanting to see order and actually things brought to justice for their people, it was in a sense almost justifiable. And I think that this was the lesson. This show was a pretense for what we would see out of him going forward, because I think that's when he himself had enough of the Republic and knew what was going on. But at the same time, it's just like, well, everything that's orchestrated right now is orchestrated by a Sith Lord that you're following. So it's just, I don't know, but it was still one of the situations where like Dooku, you really got a chance to see that emotionally charged but yet conflicted side of him. You know what I mean? And I loved the way they showed it. It was incredible. And the thing is, he was like, again, like pushing, like he just pushed Qui-Gon back and was like, just watch from a distance. I need you to see what was going on. Qui-Gon releasing the father or the son, you know, so that everything is, it was just, it was so unique. It was uniquely done. I loved it. I loved every bit of it.
You have to also take into consideration how interesting the dynamic is between so many master and Padawans, and how often they're polar opposites. Like we see with, you know, Kenobi and Anakin, you have a hothead Padawan and such a reserved master, and then you see with like Dooku and Qui-Gon, you have a passionate, master and such a reserved, like monk like Qui-Gon. So it's like, it's funny how sometimes that they're so conflicting in their philosophies, despite one being a mentor to the other. You would think that they would be more similar, and so often it's just not the case. I think the closest we have ever seen to two people always on the same page is probably Anakin and Snips.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing, is like two people that were on the same page, synced emotionally, until the end, of course. And I, man, that Ahsoka episode, I'm telling you, whoa, man. Anyway,
Everything.
It was everything, bro. Like but we'll get to that, because like I don't want to get too far ahead. We didn't, with this episode, we know it was the introduction, but then we do definitely a time jump from this episode to the next, and that's when we have a chance to basically see, Dooku and Mace, which that episode in its own, I mean, getting past the simple fact that I knew that the guy voicing Mace was not Samuel L. Jackson. I was like, all right, I'll let y'all live for that. That's definitely not a problem. But I think as a whole, the episode itself was really phenomenal. Because we're seeing again, Dooku's, relationship with Mace, in a sense, is like, oh, you're by the book, but you have to see that there's a gray area, you know what I mean, type of situation. But Mace is like, again, but Dooku, again, being a problem solver himself, like in this type of situation, we get a chance to see him with the beard. So this is the earlier stage when he's like, all right, I'm getting out of the baby face stage. Let me get my beard. He got the baby beard jumping off. He's like, I got to get more elegant, you know what I mean, more suave. He's like, you know what I mean? I know this next episode is going to be watching, so let me grow out the beard a little bit. So, but I mean, again, like, I was so fascinated by this episode, because I'm like, yo, I want to see more of Dooku's story. Like, literally, I want to see more of his backstory, because he is a dope ass character. Like, when I remember, like, when he was introduced, like in the prequels, it was like, okay, filler character, they throw him in. Okay, yeah, we got Christopher, like, yeah, all right, we got him, not a problem. But now, or even he was a badass then, but even now, it's just like, yo, I have even higher appreciation for him because of this. But yeah. What were you gonna say, V?
He was so well fleshed out in the Clone Wars. Like after Anakin, I think I got, after Anakin, I think Dooku was the next character that was really important to Filoni to show like what he meant and brought to the table. He wasn't just a lackey for Palpatine. He was very integral, very important. So it was, I think, very befitting and obvious choice for Filoni to show even more of him, in this series. He's clearly one of a faves for Filoni to write for, and it shows. It worked. I mean, what he was doing, and it also showed how Palpatine, was able to make the moves that he made, and he was intelligent enough to have people as powerful and as intelligent as Dooku to help him get what he needed to get accomplished.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing, like, you know, with this episode again, it's like with each episode, we're seeing, you know, that it's like a turn or a switch that's slowly being turned on in Dooku, like, yeah, I'm not with this. You know what I mean? I'm not, because the thing is, it's like he's, you know, there because if you think about it, when we're watching it from a perspective that we believe. Because if you see Dooku, you're like, okay, we know he's going to be like that individual. He's going to probably be that individual with villainous intent. But when you think about it and you watch it, he was really for the people, bro. Like he was a character that was really for, like he goes to these planets. He had empathy for individuals who were enslaved. You know what I mean? So you can see that, you know, in a sense, because he's becoming a problem solver, but at the same time, he's seeing corruption, which helps him to identify corruption with even in his own faction, you know, which makes it, you know, definitely incredible. And I love this episode. What did you think about this episode, Arun?
I thought it was wonderful. It's called
Because he grew the beard out. He beard out for you, though.
It's called The Choice, correct?
Yes, it is.
And this is maybe the first time that we do see that Dooku is changing now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know, he realizes that there's a little bit more going on, and as you both said, he is one of the best strategists there. He's one of the best Jedi. You know, he's not on the council, but he should be. But he's held in very high esteem, and I think it's very funny that he not only starts to listen to the reasons why things are happening, but he also becomes suspicious of the Jedi Council.
Yeah.
This episode that is certainly, I think, is the writing on the wall. I think that Mace, I don't know whether he sensed something was wrong, but certainly after seeing his reaction when he finds out that Mace has been elevated to the position that, you know, the person who, the Jedi that was killed was at, he's quite surprised. And I guess he is a bit prideful about it. You know, Dooku is amazing. He's a wonderful Jedi, but Mace points out to him that, well, the choice you made probably had some influence over that, but I'll talk to the council for you.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it was just like a zinger. That was like, I gotcha. You know, like that felt so painful to hear. You know, Mace say it, and Mace just tells you how it is. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. He'll tell you all the details, but that one actually hurt.
Yeah, because it's like rubbing a simple fact in that you was accepted in the council. He wasn't, you know, because of his actions. And a lot of it, I mean, again, you know, a lot of it was based on the reporting from Mace. You know what I mean? Because Mace had to report what happened on that planet. You know what I mean? So instead of being like, all right, let me just kind of fudge this so Dooku doesn't look too bad. He's like, oh, nah, hell no. They got an extra seat. That's my shit.
Yo, man. Yo, Mace has a history of council blocking fools.
Yeah.
Yo, from Dooku on the council to Anakin being master. Yo, Mace is he's grimy, yo.
Hell yeah. See, that's why we need somebody like CC on the council, bro, because like, man, fuck that. Nah, you that's been incredible. But nah, like he straight up did council block, bro. Like straight up, like like literally, instead of, you know, because if you're both on a mission, you know what I mean, and you have to this, you know, looking at it from Dooku's side or his standpoint, you have to sort of understand that he's sort of, in a sense, you know, again, he is as empathetic, but he did solve the issue. He got he did more than Mace would have done. Mace didn't do shit. Mace just sat back the entire time, bro.
Yo, Mace let him fuck it up and was like, yo, man, you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yo, he just let that's the funny thing that we're seeing from Dooku in this is like it goes to show why he was drawn to the dark side, because the way the council does shit is a lot of hang wrangling and you know, like, oh, we'll see, we'll table that, we'll write this report and we'll do this, and it's like, yo, we could stop them right now. Like, why do we have to do? Why is the book so long? Like all these rules, all these rules, man. Like we could just end it right now.
Yep.
It's gotta be frustrating for someone with okay, so you think about it, how the average, I don't know, I guess a police officer in the field, right, wishes they could just beat up a suspect and get the answer for where the interrogation is, right? But you're not allowed to do that. But that's just a person. I can imagine what it's like for a Jedi with all that power to have to go by all these rules and legislation and by the book to shit, when it's like, this guy over here is gonna let me just do whatever I need to get done and have peace instantly. Why wouldn't I want to do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I can see how it's enticing.
It is, because and the thing is, we know that the silver tongue, Palpatine himself probably told him that. It was like, look, with the Jedi, that Mace, Dooku, that the quote unquote galaxy is corrupt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm giving you the keys to do what it is you need to do to bring order. You know what I mean? I'm going to help you, basically bring order. You know what I mean? So it, like you said, that's definitely enticing. You can't, like, are you going to say no at that point? Especially if you're not even on the council, and you don't even have an advantage at that point. You know what I mean? They're not putting you on their council because of what they believe and their beliefs and who you are. You know what I mean? Like, that's, we definitely knew that was coming. But this episode all around, I mean, we got a chance to see how much of a snake Mace, but he wasn't a snake though. What I'm saying, he was just, chilling. He
Snakes
just saw
on the council.
He saw and he seized his advantage, and that's exactly what he did. He took the advantage while he could, and just was like, "Yo, I'm going to run with it." Anybody else? And that's the thing, is when you think about it, somebody else would probably have done, the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, it probably took the same advantage. It's just that, he moved quicker. But anyway, we move from this particular episode and we go into the Sith Lord, which was episode 4. That, episode 4 was chef's kiss, bro. Like, literally, it was chef's kiss the whole way through. And it was an emotional ride. It was the very first time that I looked at Dooku, and you can see the hurt. And they did such a good job with the dialogue in that scene, with us really noticing how painful it was for him to know that, a Padawan that he loved. And the thing is, I didn't even expect the time jump, because I didn't know that they were talking about that. Literally, I didn't. Right. You know what I mean? We saw the opening with a conversation between him and Qui-Gon. You know what I mean? When he basically, saw, they talked about the Chosen One at that point. You know what I mean? And he talked about Obi-Wan. And then, how Qui-Gon, Dooku was like, I hope to meet him someday. You know what I mean? Like, literally, like, right there, we saw Dooku, for who, just more someone who was just more proud of his Padawan. But at the same time, it's like secret, like, you knew that he knew something was different. Like, something was, what he was doing and what he planned to do might, completely disrupt everything. And someone, we could stand to lose someone. But at the same time, like I said, we see that, and then we see the time jump, we see him in front of the tree. I didn't know at that point the conversation was going to be about Qui-Gon. I mean, that, Qui-Gon had died at that point. And it was just basically a conversation between, at that point, him and Yaddle. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I love, this is actually my favorite episode of all of them, because of the transition here. And of course we get into the library scene, which is remarkable. We know what's happened there, and we've all speculated as to who did that, and we find out who did it. Let's say, I'm not going to say what it is, but
it was easy to do.
Yeah. And it's because he was so well esteemed, and he could walk in and they knew who he was. And, I think that it was very interesting. That might just be one of the many things he's done, right? There certainly are parallels from what the Beskar kid is saying. We now know, and it's quite obvious, that, the Emperor was talking to a ton of people, trying to sway them over to his side. And so I imagine, there's probably about 20 or 30 Jedi, many of whom may become inquisitors later on, or whatever role they have, that have decided to just leave, for whatever reason. And the Emperor had a lot to do with that persuasiveness. But we saw Yaddle. Like, this is a miracle. I wasn't ever expecting to see her here and talking and saying that she stepped down from the council.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she got pregnant.
Were a little off. She couldn't stay on there. But I think that she felt she had to tell Dooku this because she didn't want Dooku. She knew what was happening. She could see it on his face. And she decided, I'm not on the council anymore. It's not a conflict of interest. I'm just an ordinary Jedi right now, just an ordinary master. And I'm going to see what's going on with him. Who was Dooku's master was Yoda, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I don't know where Yoda is right now. Actually, I don't think we see him in this, but maybe we did. But the point is that he's busy doing other major things.
Well, in this episode, he was on Coruscant. Oh, not Coruscant. He was on Naboo because remember they had all gone to Naboo to
For Padme.
the funeral.
Yes. And they were very careful to make her look like she still was pregnant when she died. They made a point of letting us see.
No, when Yaddle and Dooku fought, they had gone to Naboo for Qui-Gon's funeral because that's when he died.
Oh yeah, that right.
At that point, that's when he basically passed. The one you're talking about is when we're going to talk about Ahsoka because remember she shows up, which I'm like, damn, that right there. But we'll get to that in a minute. But this was when he was there.
Yes, and so we get to see Yaddle talking to him. She says she stepped down because even she finds that there are some issues with the council. It's too bad we didn't learn more. I guess maybe we will learn more in another episode or in another season about what she's found out, different things that are going on in the council. And that's why we see members missing or not everybody's around, because even the council members are doubting what's going on. And, clearly she's like, I just don't believe that everything is fine. Could you imagine coming back and someone saying that my master was killed and everybody saying, no, that's impossible. It couldn't be a Sith. It just seems so unbelievable for someone to even doubt you. And yet even, Obi-Wan, who is very, very credible, who never lies about anything, they didn't seem to believe him. So I think that was also very interesting that the council became skeptical, and the council members themselves were somewhat disenchanted as well. So there's a lot of uncertainty going on here with everyone. It's much more unstable than it appears. Yeah,
that man, of all the different reasons and rhymes and reasons we've seen for people turning, if my student is killed and then they cover it up and act like it didn't happen, and he doesn't even get the respect of the truth being out there, I'd be hot. I'd be hot too, man. That was just so unbelievable. But knowing more and more about the council, it was believable. I mean, to just completely disregard the fact that, hey, the Sith are back, and to just, it's like the plot of how many bad, horror movies. Hey, this is out there. It can't be. And then everybody gets fucked up because they don't listen to the smart guy. It's man, that was tough. And then Yaddle was sitting there, saying, we don't want to panic people. And it's like, let me know how that works out for you.
Like straight up, bro. Like, and the thing is, now I'll have to say, Bryce Dallas Howard, she did a phenomenal job as Yaddle. And
she did.
What I love, we've already loved her before, but I love her even more now because she is so thrusted in the Star Wars universe and she really loves it. You know what I mean? And plus she has, the talent just runs through the family. She's her father's child. But she killed it as Yaddle. Like, I'd never thought that I would be so invested in the character. I'm telling you, Yaddle's going to be talked about a lot lately because I even saw some conspiracies. Everybody's already talking about Yoda.
Grogu.
That Grogu is her child, and
I hope they know what. They're asking for it by putting her in this. Because it was. Yaddle wasn't just, what was she in before? Because he was just in the one show or something. I can't remember what it was that she was in before.
She was in, well, of course she was in, the prequels from what we saw. But then after that, I forget what they had. I think this was the first time we saw her, or actually even heard her voiced
Yeah.
and saw her, in an animated series.
Yeah, this is
But
definitely going to start, a whole lot of speculation about Grogu.
yeah,
Because now this is the first, the first time we got to see any kind of elaboration or breakdown of her character to, add weight to that, I guess, obvious two and two together that might be where Grogu comes from, because it's one of the most secretive races or species in all of Star Wars, because they're the only two that we'd ever seen before Grogu.
yeah,
So
definitely. And that's the thing, is like they were the only two on the council. You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean it makes and they say, and Anakin and Grogu were born in the same year.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So
yep, I'm telling you, man. Like, that's why you went to Dagobah. He was dodging that child support.
yeah, Yoda was like, "Booty, I need." But no. I mean, literally, this was now. It was dope how this scene mirrors Yoda's fight with
Yeah.
Dooku. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy how it does. Like, even the same acrobatics, it's like facing them both, which now, like, when you think about it, brings weight to the encounter that Yoda and Dooku had, because Yoda fought him with a bit of fury. Like, he was angry. You know what I mean? As if knowing that this might have actually happened, or did he know? Because at this point, we have no idea. Like, was this, was it ever explained how she died? You know what I mean? And on top of that, but we know that when every Jedi, like as we've seen in, Revenge of the Sith, every Jedi was slaughtered, Yoda he felt it. So I'm wondering if he actually felt this on Naboo when this actually happened. And that would be interesting. But yeah, like you can see like the uncertainty, and like she literally wanted to help Dooku. And what I liked about this scene was he was like, "I'm afraid." And then she was like, "I know you are." And he then finished the sentence, "I'm afraid that you know what I mean? Like,
I'm afraid I'm gonna have to fuck you up.
Yeah, like literally. But I think that he was literally saying that he was afraid. Like, he was literally, there was fear, because
he flipped it, but he really was afraid of what he was becoming.
What he was becoming, what he was doing, and he knew that a lot was happening. And yeah, Beskar, she tried to bring him back. Like, she wanted to bring him back because she felt that he was a tortured soul.
Palpatine had them hooks in.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, literally, after this episode, like when she died and they panned over to Palpatine for an animated series, I hated that motherfucker so much. Bro, I was looking at him smile.
I was like, please end right there. And they did it. Like,
and they did it.
Perfect.
And they did it. And they definitely did it. It was definitely a phenomenal episode. Then we move on to Practice Makes Perfect.
Perfect it was.
Perfect it was. That episode, literally, like, you got a chance to see how much. And here's the thing. This episode showed me literally how powerful Anakin was without doing anything.
Exactly.
Without doing anything.
He knew that he'd be able to do that without even thinking about it. So he knew Ahsoka would survive.
Exactly. And he was teaching her because, number one, he knew how powerful she really was. He knew that she was a powerful and potentially and was going to be a powerful Jedi, which we know she has become. So he knew that. He knew the potential that she had, because he saw that, he knew that same potential in him, and how powerful he was. He can only pass over what he's learned, but with his own twist. And he knew that he had to push her. And the thing is, bro, he was right.
Absolutely.
Literally. He was right. He pushed her to her limits because he knew. And how they mirrored that with season 7. What the fuck?
Yep.
Yo, Vinny.
Yo, this is my favorite episode. And after I finally got on board with Clone Wars, I was
Yeah.
kicking myself for not watching it sooner because Clone Wars Anakin is up there with my favorite thing that Star Wars has ever done. Period.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's Luke and Vader, and then there's Clone Wars Anakin.
Yeah.
Because that's how just absolutely amazing he was to watch in
Yeah.
that show. And this was, as soon as he walked on the screen, I'm literally in my living room just geeking out, just losing my
Yeah.
shit, just because I'm getting another dose, one last fix of Anakin and Clone Wars era, like, and then to see the way that he handled Ahsoka's training, knowing damn well that if there was any other masters there, they would have said, "Stop this." And
Yeah, I was,
exactly.
Charlie.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie.
I was, and then because the first time she got knocked out, I was sitting there going, "Again, do it again."
Yep.
And that's exactly what he said. Like, get up, do it again, do it again.
Mhm.
And it just was so Anakin and Ahsoka. Like, that's what their relationship is. It's two people who don't do shit by the books, who love to fight and are smart and break so many of the traditions of the Jedi way. Like, so many traditions of the Jedi way are not about training to fight. Like, they don't train to fight. They're more philosophers, and these two love to scrap. So it was great watching them come up with, like, I want a whole show now of them doing different fucking training exercises and just doing shit. Like, I want more. Like, you're right, it's not enough. Just keep giving me more of this shit, because this was so,
it was so good.
Perfect. It was everything. I just love this episode so much because it just adds more and more to just how in tune that they were as Master and Padawan of being on the same page on, just on, the way of approaching battle in life. And I love the willpower that they both had. Like, you were never going to beat me. Only I can beat me.
Yeah, exactly. And like, how I felt about this entire, like, just this entire show series in this run, even though we only had like a few, like literally a few episodes, but how I felt about it was the same way I felt about watching Mando the very first time.
Yep.
Like, literally, like, that's how I felt about it. It brought me, I was waiting for a fucking show to bring me back to that feeling. And this animated series did just that, because watching this training montage, watching what and then how when she wakes up, we see her standing next to Rex in that scene from that.
I was standing up.
Was brilliant. Like, that was the brilliance of what that was so fucking brilliant. Like, that right there was Emmy Award winning content from what I've seen, because that was so fucking brilliant. What did you think about that?
Well, first of all, one of the things that I thought was really important was that I think that Anakin knew that he wasn't always going to be around with Ahsoka every, like, 24/7, the way they are as Padawan and Master. So I think his mindset was that things are getting much more dangerous. He's not going to be there all the time. And when he saw that archaic test, that, I mean, it looked like the one Luke Skywalker was using when he first started training. It wasn't sophisticated.
Yeah.
It wasn't real life action. And they had started to go out into, real battles. This wasn't going to be good enough for her. And he had to do something. It just was not going to prepare her for the real world. A good portion of the Jedi died because they didn't have that battle experience.
Bingo.
They were not prepared. I mean, they were trained, but they just weren't able to train for something like this. So, she really needed to have this experience. And while she was fighting with just her one lightsaber, I said, where's her second saber? She needs the other saber. She needs two sabers, And then, of course, it actually does, advance in time, which I thought was very clever, because you could cover more ground and understand how hard she's trained in addition to doing actual fighting out there. She's become an expert now because of his influence, and trained by the best means that she can now defend herself against anything, even him. And when you are a mentor, you want your mentee to be better than you are. You want them to strive. And I think he accomplished that. I'm not going to say that, she's, could do anything and wants to destroy him, but he certainly did make her better than she was when she, before she started training with him. So I think that he accomplished his goal. And I think we see that in this episode more than ever. He cared about her so deeply. We knew that, but we can see it here even more. And, you know, that I honestly, we love to see this relationship between the two of them. You know, this is something that when you remember when we all first saw season 7 of the Clone Wars, how touched we were when he hadn't seen her for a while. And he was like, Ahsoka, you know, like he was so excited. And so, you know, this kind of just reiterates how tight they were. Certainly a very strong bond that hadn't gone away. It hasn't gone away. I mean, she's always going to remember those good times that she had with him, you know, so it does mean something, even if he's not around anymore, let's say, hypothetically speaking, even if things have changed, that was an important relationship in her life. And she's always going to remember that. So it did serve a purpose in a way. And I think that by showing this, it does show, at least for Ahsoka, that she did have someone else who cared about her in more than maybe even the other people in the temple did.
It also adds weight to why the 501st respect Ahsoka and Anakin so much, because I doubt many other Jedis looked at them as peers.
Yeah, true.
Right.
True.
I mean, there is something to be said about that. We've seen how people speak down to, or, you know, tend to speak down to clones and how they're not worth anything. You know, certainly that's not something you want to perpetuate. It's not, you know, ideal to have the people who you're around to speak to in a derogatory way. And I think it was kind of a good example of what she was saying, that it's a brotherhood, you know, a sisterhood and a brotherhood together. You know, this is their family because they're always around one another. They're not at home kind of like hanging out and making dinner and stuff. None of that stuff. This is their life as soldiers, and they have a very tight unit. And I think it's really important that they continue to have that.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, man, this episode, I mean, I'm right there with you, Vinny. It was probably one of my favorite episodes because of the training montage and that ending. That ending, when I saw that, you know, and you know, and then for Rex to make that comment, you know, I hope that training. What did he say? He said, I hope the training was enough or something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
and then they go out to face like 1,000 droids, and it's like, all right, you know, like they got it.
Yeah, and the
think
thing
about
is,
how many times we watched Anakin just walk into a field like that, and you knew he was gonna be okay because it's fucking Anakin, and now you have that same swagger, that era about Ahsoka, and that's rare even among the Jedi. Like, there's not all the Jedi you feel like that, because we watched a lot of them get, you know, just blown away by, you know, much lighter circumstances, and it takes you bring what army are you bringing to take these out, because, you know, they're showing why they're so badass, because they care so much about fighting. They know that there's only so much that can get done, you know, in a legislation or with a voting bill. Like, that's not them. They want to they want to brawl. They want to fight.
And this is another segment to add into those of you who like to watch certain segments of the live action film, and then, you know, some of the segments of the Clone Wars, and then you can add this segment in. It's just going to get longer and longer and longer. Someone's going to put it together so it happens in chronological order. But it really is great that we're getting, you know, good amounts, very important information at each step of the way to kind of explain what's going on and also to enrich the story.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. It is. It's so important. And then to me, it just means so much more, you know, to see that someone as passionate as Dave Filoni is putting his all into these things. And he's showing you, like, as important as it is to him, he's trying to show you why it should be important to you. You know what I mean? And he's putting it in these shows. Like, you feel his heart through these shows. You know, you feel his love for characters like Ahsoka and Dooku. Like, you feel that. And, you know, I have nothing wrong to say about these episodes. Every single episode was truly, truly amazing. And then we get to the last, I guess, the final episode, of course, which was the resolve.
And I did just want to say one other thing is that, of course, Ashley Eckstein is back doing the voice of Ahsoka.
Yes.
She's not going anywhere. She's going to be doing it for the next 20 years, guys.
Yes.
So don't worry.
Yeah, she definitely is back, and she deserves it because she kills it. She brought this character to life, and she killed it. We get to the resolve, of course, where we actually see the funeral on Naboo, which was the last episode. We see that funeral and how beautiful it looked. You see them, ushering Padme through. You get a chance to see her body along, as well as holding Anakin, that actual necklace that Anakin handcrafted and gave her. You see that, but then when you actually dip out through the crowd, you see Ahsoka, and it gave me chills because I was like, damn. When I go back and watch, Revenge of the Sith, and I see that scene, I'm like, Ahsoka was there. Yeah, I mean, like it was truly incredible. And then she dips, and then of course we see that Bail Organa tracks her down and tells her she shouldn't be there. But again, we know that. And here's the thing: like, I was always thinking about this. Like, even in Clone Wars, I really forgot that there was a friendship between Ahsoka and Padme. Like, I forgot all about that.
Yeah,
because it wasn't really. It was there, and we've seen it, but it was like it was overshadowed slightly by everything else that was going on. But they were friends. Like, they were really, really, really good friends. And, for her being there, it was like, what, she had to be there to get that closure between both of them. And I'm so glad that Filoni put that in this episode. V, what did you think?
I thought that it was a reminder to me too, because I never really had that in the back of my head as a constant about them being friends. I was like, oh yeah, it would just make sense, right? I mean, Anakin always had Padme around just kind of cuz. That's why Kenobi was just like, yo, we ain't stupid. She's always you just always for whatever reason just happen to be around each other. It's like it's obvious. And Ahsoka was always around Anakin, so of course they were all probably friends. But I felt that episode was just another powerful episode. It showed all right, here's what's so great about Ahsoka. From the training montage to this, it's so evident how Filoni, like Lucas, was also a fan of classic martial arts films.
Yep.
So we have Lucas's, it's been said many times how big a fan he was of Akira Kurosawa, his films, and Seven Samurai, all that. But I feel like Filoni, being younger, was probably more a fan of more Chinese films and probably more Hong Kong Kung Fu Shaw Brothers influences. So we see a more martial arts type training montage with the training sequence with her surroundings. It's kind of like, the old blindfold and, use your senses. And then we have like Jet Li and Fearless, him just going to be a farmer because it's like, I'm giving up that way of life, but that way of life finds you. That's exactly what this felt like. This felt like a scene out of Jet Li's Fearless, him in the Chinese fields and just realizing like, all right, it's not all out of me yet. I can be at peace, but I have a responsibility. Like, there's more for me to do, and that doesn't mean I have to, compromise who I am in order to I can be both. I can be a peaceful warrior. And I feel like when the Inquisitor comes to the town, it's like, okay, then it becomes clear to her that she has a responsibility as someone and being as powerful as she is to try to continue to make a difference in this world more than just being out the way. Like she has more to do. So that martial arts kind of like theology and sequences in these past couple episodes really hit home for me because I'm such a martial arts head, and I loved the subtle influences it had without like being really, really obvious. Really, it was just it was subtle influences in there, and I loved it. I loved that. That's just like how Lucas subtly put those things into Star Wars. Filoni did it, very, very similarly, just nuanced, relating into that. So I loved it. It was really, really great. I love that, she tried to be normal, but that ain't always the way, No.
And the thing is, like, especially when you've been taught for so many years, you've trained for so many years, it becomes it's instinct. Instinct takes over through everything. As much as you try to hold back and that you can help a situation, that instinct takes over. And in this episode, we saw that. We saw that instinct. I loved the simple fact that the conversation she had with Bill Organa, and he hands her the communicator and tells her, contact me when you need me. And she gives it, as a sense, she's like, no, but he was like pushy with it. It's almost that he knew she was going to need that. You know what I mean? He knew that she was going to need it someday. And we found out that it was true. Like, what did you think? Now, first off, before I say anything, this fucking Inquisitor was bad as fuck. Like, I mean, the design.
We all know him, right? He's new, right? He's new, right?
He's this. Everybody's saying it's like the sixth brother or something like that.
I thought he was made up for the show because I tried to Google who he was.
You couldn't.
I couldn't find anything.
And I think he was made up for this particular show, but I think he was there. I'll. You know what? Let me ask the human encyclopedia out there, Beskar Kid, because he knows and he would know. Beskar, was this a new character for this show? If you're still watching, I know you probably are. Was this basically a new character introduced? Because, man, like, why did they make the animated version of the Inquisitors dope as fuck? They couldn't do that live action. Why?
No, like there's not a single scene. I love Kenobi, but as far as Inquisitors go, there's not a single scene that is like, oh shit, here, who are these motherfuckers? Like that felt when he walked on the scene.
Yeah.
No.
The best Inquisitor I've ever seen was the one in, for me, Star
Jedi
Wars
Fallen Order.
Yeah. Is it the second sister or third sister?
Is the seventh sister?
Well,
I think it's the seventh sister.
She's fantastic. They did such a great job with that character and her backstory. That was an excellent character. But I agree with you in regards to the way that they portray the Inquisitors in live action. We haven't truly gotten that intense Inquisitor. Maybe we will, but I was wondering how old this Inquisitor was because he seemed to know who she was, but she might be older than him, and she's got a ton more experience than he does, I bet. So he didn't even stand a chance here.
Yo, what was dope about this? If we basically sit back, right? It's like Dave Filoni gives you these moments. He gives you these moments, but you never see it coming. He gave us that same moment when we saw Obi-Wan fighting Maul in Clone Wars, right?
Yes.
How quick it was over.
Yeah.
We see this episode and she don't even have a lightsaber in her hand.
She likes to grab sabers. Have you not noticed this? Or at least I've noticed it in a lot of her fights. She tends
just like Anakin. Give me your shit.
Yes. She says, she pretty much takes their weapon away from them, and then they're kind of, confused or
it's a wrap. It's just a wrap after that.
Back to the martial arts thing. Yo, open palm. Look at the open palm. She had a clenched fist and then the open palm.
And then she opened her palm.
Which is so wushu. It's like if you're a fan of martial arts and you know what wushu is, when she opened her palm, I was just like,
there you go. The sixth brother was in the Ahsoka novel. Not sure which one this is, but the design is dope. Hopefully someone with greater knowledge knows. Damn.
I tried to Google it. I think he made up for a show.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he made up this particular character because it definitely but it was dope. And again, I'm just like everybody else. I'm thinking figure. Give me that figure.
Face and hands remind me of what's the guy who used multiple lightsabers?
Oh, are you talking about fucking
his figure was all messed up and everybody returned.
Not Grievous.
Grievous. General Grievous.
A little bit of him reminded me of that. His hands and his whatever was on it, he felt like that. I don't know if he was, but he was really cool and scary looking, but his hands seemed like the fingers looked almost. I don't even know what I was looking at. It looked amazing. They did a great job in this design for this Inquisitor.
Yeah, with the cape, everything, it looked incredible, like a badass Inquisitor. It was just wrong day, wrong time for you, buddy, because like, and then like you said, Vinny, echoing back to like martial arts films where we see the the village inflamed. We see that, pretty much, all this, pretty much everybody's held hostage, and it's that one lone wolf that just comes through, and it's like,
and the music here,
sounds
very Western.
It did. It was phenomenal.
Very
Mm-hmm.
very clear that that's some things that he pulled from. It was beautiful. I loved it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like he pulled from it, and the look of it, the way they wanted it to look,
Mhm.
like it was phenomenal. Like again, this entire, and then of course, after she just dispenses of him quick as shit, like you know, she calls up a favor from Bill Organa. He comes in and whisks, the people away. Me, I wanted to, if I was her, I'd be like, you know what, I'm gonna give y'all a pass. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna give y'all some freedom, but I just got to punch you in your face real quick, just real quick. Just let me punch you in your face, and then I'm gonna send you on. But yeah, I mean, all in all, this episode was, I mean, these again, CC, I want you to watch them. I want you to basically watch these episodes. And when you watch them, I mean, even though we're talking about it right now, it's not as impactful as it will be when you watch it and you watch them back to back. You're going to feel everything that we're talking about right now, because we're going to probably revisit this conversation next week, because I want to know what you thought about it. But I'm telling you, excellent. Chef's kiss on this episode. I thought it was phenomenal.
And they said it was an anthology, but it felt episodic to me. I mean, what did you guys think? Because wasn't it in order? I mean, or am I wrong?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't consider it non-sequential. It felt very sequential to me.
Yeah.
Unless they meant the series.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why I believe it was a test.
Yeah, like
just let's see how you'll do, kid. I mean, it's not like he hasn't been tested continuously before, so I don't know. Maybe this is, I don't know, just more proof that he's ready for a fucking movie. Give him a movie. Stop playing.
Yeah, stop playing. Just give him a movie and let him just run rampant, because I mean, what he's doing with this is phenomenal. I mean, this really, everybody, and this is like, you know what? They gave us this because everybody was asking for Star Wars. They wanted more Star Wars. They wanted that Star Wars feel, and you got it in these 15-minute episodes. You know what I mean?
Also, think about the timing of this. Imagine if you're a
Mhm.
Star Wars fan and you're feeling any type of way about Andor not having Jedi and lightsabers, and you get your fix with this.
Yeah, you definitely do. You definitely do. So yeah, I can't wait for people to watch it. But speaking of Andor, speaking of Andor, and
I
Cece,
know,
you're back now, so we're
I was so busy getting
I want to
stuff together.
Yep.
You guys are gonna hate me. Like someone should have been like, "Yo, someone go get her," because I was like, "Yeah, I'll just pull a few photos together." No, I
she got a whole
and like Dooku joined us. Like I didn't even notice that Dooku was.
you got a ton of them.
I do actually. Yeah, but to be fair, I heard a little bit of what you like. I think that was good because I didn't get like totally spoiled on everything that you guys were talking about, even though I listened to you the whole time. I heard what you guys were talking about with Ahsoka being at Padme's funeral, and it reminded me of a comic book cover that I think is incredible, but it's coming out in January of next year. So I included that in the pictures that I'm just gonna have to share my screen because there's so many of them.
Okay. So we want to do the prints. Let's just break away and do the prints real quick. You want to do the prints real quick?
Oh god. Okay, I'll
I
try
want to
to
see some prints.
All right, I'll try to get through them fast. Okay, hold on, give me a second. Don't share yet.
Let's just go. I'm ready to go. I want to see them.
I'll flip through them. Don't make me like hover on shit too long. Yell at me that I need to go faster if I need to.
I'm not gonna do that. I want to see some prints.
See, give me 1 second. I'll pull it up.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay. All right, now how's that look? I'm good.
Should be. You good?
Yeah, can you see it okay?
Hot off the press. I see that.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
So we'll start with art prints. So I went in chronological order. Believe it or not, there's more Rogue One prints than I thought, but this was one that was unlicensed, released in 2016. I thought this would be cool to show anyone because it's an homage to Full Metal Jacket.
That's dope.
So like I said, it was unlicensed, like fan art, 24x36, edition size of 75 for this one. And then, so I like this one a lot. I do question, so it says it was released in 2016. I wonder if they did this before the actual movie released, because this is the other version of it, which seems very like it's cool. Don't get me wrong, but
This is
it messes
yo.
with my head that it's Luke's helmet. I wouldn't see him. So if it was like, what was it, General Merrick, the one that was really cool with like it's gray with like light blue and yellow to it, then it would make sense. But I reckon
Mhm.
because this is Luke's helmet that he did this before the movie had even come out. So that's one of them. Next one. I love this one. I own this
That's
one.
dope.
It's by one of my favorite artists, Matt Ferguson.
Yo.
I like that one too.
18 by 24. This was an edition size of 375, also released in 2016. What was cool is, so I think it was around the same time. Yes, it was the same time this came out. The next one I'm going to show you came out, and Matt Ferguson made it known, I think last year, that he always wanted to do a Rogue One print of like Jyn Erso's silhouette when she's having like the standoff with the TIE fighter, but he could
Mhm.
not, because he did this at the same time that Carl Fitzgerald did this one.
Okay.
Yo.
Fitzgerald
That's
kind of
pretty
like
crazy.
beat him to the punch. And if you know the artist, his work is very, I'd say, moody and like atmospheric. It's very there's not a lot of like harsh lines to anything he does. So this was the regular edition. It was an edition size of 375, released in 2016, and it's a big one, so 24 by 36. There's two variants to this. So one was the black and white. So the black and white was limited to 100, and then the red one, which was a limited edition of 50, and that was actually released by two different galleries. So the regular and the black and white was released by Bottleneck, and then this one was, I think, Gray Matter Art or Acme Archives. I can't remember. But I think that's kind of cool, like the insider knowledge. Like Matt Ferguson always wanted to do this scene, but he couldn't because Carl Fitzgerald had kind of like put his towel on that first. And then next up, Killian Ang. I remember this one being quite popular. It was edition size of 675 and released in 2017. And there's another one I'm going to show. He did the original trilogy as well, and those ones were really, really popular. But I love how like tropical this looks with the bright colors.
Mhm.
Very cool choice. And then I forget which one I have up next, honestly. Let me see. Okay, so this is actually
Yo.
what I have that I'm struggling to find information on. So this is the regular edition, which was the black and white.
Mhm.
I'm only finding that the variant, which I'll show you next, was limited to 30. It was a private commission. John Guido's done a lot of really great Marvel art, if you're aware.
Yeah.
I also just got one of his Batman prints that I've had for a long time framed. But if you're familiar with and I'll show that, of course, the Chris Valentine Rogue One art print that was released earlier this year, this kind of reminds me of it as far as like the smoke going behind the Death Troopers. So I plan on framing mine side by side or displaying mine side by side. But wish me luck because they're big, 24 by 36. So I literally have to find narrow frames or get them custom framed in order to fit them on the wall that I have space for. So it's fun.
there. Wow. Okay, so 2 frames. So now is the wall big enough to have them spaced a certain way, or
like so the wall space I have that I plan on putting them in, it's the hallway. In order to have like an inch between them on either side, I need to find a different frame than what I typically use.
Gotcha.
Because what I typically use is too wide. So I think it's worth it though. I'm sure you could argue you can't argue against that, but and then this is the variant edition, which again was a limited edition of 30. So it's just, I think this is a 11 color screen print and the other is 12 or vice versa. But all I could find is that it was a private commission.
Yeah.
So next up, this one.
Oh my God, man.
So this one I'm pretty sure was a Mondo timed release, hence it's an edition size of 1,775.
It's sold out already.
It feels very Mondo.
Yeah. Also, 2018 was an excellent year for Rogue One. Holy shit! Like it took a long time, obviously, for the influx of art prints, considering the movie was released in, what was it, December 2016?
Yo.
But a lot of these came out in 2018. And Martin Anson, I don't love absolutely everything he does, but he
But
also
this
did,
piece.
yep, this one, and there's a killer Man of Steel he did that I like a lot. Yeah, so this is stunning, and I think I'm pretty sure this is the only edition they did. So it's not like they did a variant or anything. Pretty sure. But you've got Krennic, you've got Vader towards the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
the Death Troopers flanking Krennic. Just a nice. I love the red, and you've got like the schematics of the Death Star behind Jyn Erso. Yeah, love this.
Yo, this, and that's the thing, is like I'm mad because now have they, it was only like a 1,000. You said the edition size was like 1,000.
Yeah, 1,775. You can't get any luckier than that if you do want to buy this somewhere, because God, that's a lot of fucking art prints. Like that's almost unheard of. There have been some art prints that are timed like that are worth a lot, even though they did make a lot of them. But we're talking like the really famous Ali Moss prints, the original trilogy ones. I think those are pretty high edition size because I think they were timed. But those go for, gosh, I think like $2,000 an art print. I don't think this one's that high, like up there as far as price goes. But because they made so many, you'd probably be like, actually, I just realized, so the reason why I was driving to work today going, oh, I should probably get some Rogue One prints together for the show tonight, is because I woke up, saw someone was selling a bunch of art prints, and saw that this was one of the ones they're selling. So as soon as I saw Rogue One, I was like, oh, do I want this? So I could check for you, Lael, if I could check to see if that print is still available if you do want to buy this.
Yeah, let me know.
Okay.
Definitely let me know.
And then next up, another Killian Ang. I like the name of this one. This one's called Basis of Hope, 24 by 36. This is the regular edition size of 300, again, released in 2018. So 2018 was a solid year for Rogue One prints. And then Charlie, the check is in the mail. And then the variant was black and white, limited to 175. But I love how it's incredibly subtle. Like, I think if I had this in my house and it didn't have the title towards the bottom, someone would just think that I appreciate like Aztec architecture or something.
Yep, that's the way they would probably view it. Yeah.
And then next up, I love this one. Yeah, so this was the one that Matt Ferguson did last year in October. So the regular was edition size of 300. This is the one I have, and I love it. He finally got his silhouette of Jyn Erso. And also, if anyone's familiar with, because it was incredibly popular and also a large edition size, if I remember correctly, he did the Empire Strikes Back 40th anniversary art print that was on like every t-shirt you saw all over the internet. Well, he's doing like a very similar silhouette or composition for each of these, so I cannot fucking wait. I'm hoping that next year, because it'll be the 40th anniversary of Return of the
Jedi,
that he does one where it's like Palpatine in the center, flanked by like ATSTs, chicken walkers, and like the forest moon of Endor behind him, with like the trees and all that kind of stuff in the foreground. That's what I'm looking forward to. So we'll see. But yeah, I love this one. And then here's the variant, 150. I love the Empire Strikes Back one so much. I own both versions.
The variant is the better option because like that color, it just, I love that tone. It looks real good. Yeah,
and the Death Troopers look sick. I have the regular one I just shown you. It's actually getting framed right now. I have to pick it up from the framer, so I'm excited to put it in my living room. And this one was limited to 150. And then I showed this one just in case people, it's not like a one that was very hugely popular, but that's kind of why I wanted to show it. So it's by Gabs, 13 by 19. So the regular is the one on the left, the like straight black and white, and the variant, which Matt, one of my cohorts at Rogue 16, fucking hates. I call it New Jersey license plate yellow. Is the variant, and that was an edition size of 50. Now, these were released earlier this year. I want to say February. They're actually both available as artist proofs on Gabs' website, like right now. So if either of these interest you, they're 13 by 19. If you were to mat those, they would fit in a frame that's 18 by 24 with an even size mat all the way around, pretty sure. And Gabs is in Poland. So you're just going to end up, I think it was like $16 to ship from Poland last time I got an art print from them. So these are, I like that they did Krennic because he's not, I'd say, the most popular character out there.
Yeah, not really.
Of course, we all know this one, hopefully.
Ooh.
This is the Chris Valentine 24 by 36. So this one was also timed. So it ended up being an edition size of 625. And Chris, when he was working on this, he said that some of those characters that you see in like the plume of smoke, like some of their faces are the size of a thumbnail. That's how small and like how detailed this art print is. So this is the one I plan on putting next to the John Guido, the one with the Death Troopers and the smoke behind them. But I know that this one was very popular. And it's cool that all these years later we're still getting Rogue One prints. I hope that continues with Andor and the popularity of Andor. Yeah. But this is beautiful. I'm also getting this framed right now. I don't know. No, actually, I've got to hold off because, again, I have to do that really narrow frame. But I love he's holding the Stormtrooper doll. Just a beautiful piece of art. And Chris Valentine recently posted that he's been incredibly appreciative and humble to all the support he's received. He lives in South Africa, and they've been having rolling blackouts for, I think he said, at least a decade. So he's been able to get a generator up and running so that he can continue working on his art even when they have those rolling blackouts. And he's only been able to do that because of the support of fans and everyone who's been able to buy his art prints. So I thought that was very nice that he was able to post that this week. And then next up, so that's that comic book cover I want to show you. So spoiler, if you're not following the comic, but I did want to put a synopsis just because it makes sense, just so you could see the context. Because when I first saw this, I was like, what the hell is Padme doing attacking Darth Vader? So the idea is that Vader is at Padme's tomb, and that one of her handmaids thinks that Vader has killed, was the one who killed Padme. I don't know how that makes sense, but we'll see. And so that the battle ensues. So that explains this cover. The artist is Raza, and this is Darth Vader number 30, which is releasing in January of next year. Long wait, but and that's all I got for my rapid fire art print session.
That's an amazing art print section. Everybody, shout out to CC with these pieces. And I'm looking at this piece right here. And this is basically the cover.
Yep, and this is the regular cover. It's not even the variant, and I think it's stunning.
And it's not scheduled to release until 2023.
Yeah. And with Marvel, it's probably going to get delayed, which sucks. But I have a. Why am I blanking on his name all of a sudden? Mitchell. What's his first name? Mike Mitchell. I have a Mike Mitchell Darth Vader cover that's very red. And I think that this will look perfect next to it. And of course, I'm going to want to try to pre-order already graded 9.8.
No, this is dope. That's what I'm saying, like, because it kind of reminds, because I actually have a variant cover of the graphic novel, the graphic arted novel of Vader. There's a variant cover of just his, so you see like his face from the side of the actual book, but then through the eyes, you get a chance to actually see his castle through one of the actual eyes on Mustafar. Is dope. I got it from a comic book shop. I had to pay like $75 for it because it was a variant. And again, was the only one they had, but I was like, yeah, I can't pass it up. That's dope. So dope. But yeah, CC, this is dope. That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, there's a couple of prints. Let me know. Definitely let me know about that one, because that is definitely incredible. And that's my only, so for me, my only downside is wall space, and I'm running into that. Like, it's just like wall space, knowing, and then I got to swap out some of the pieces that I have, to get more. You know what I mean? So some of the ones that I have, I got to replace the frames and replace the pieces with some of the new ones that I have. I even learned that from Comic-Con now. Like, I'm gonna have to start swapping out, like upgrading and stuff like that, because I got so many prints.
And there's an interesting way that you could display art prints, especially if you have like multiples of the same size, like 24 by 36. And I think we've talked about that. That might be a really good solution if you know that you want to switch them out very often. I think we've talked about it offline, but we could continue. I could show you a link and send you links and stuff like that afterwards too. Yeah,
definitely. We will go into that. But thank you, man. Thank you. This is incredible. I mean, these art prints, I mean, literally are amazing. And to have them here is, again, you putting it in this and dropping these are amazing. It's just my pockets. That's what I'm looking at, like my pockets, because I even ordered, because I just ordered 2 prints, Alex Ross prints, that'll be here probably like in 2 weeks. One he did is a Vision and Scarlet Witch that I've been wanting for the longest time, and I finally got my hands on that one. And then the other one was the classic X-Men with Bobby Drake as a snowman. That one I had to get, because that piece is incredible. And it was only like a few of those left. So I was like, yeah, let me get my hands on it. But again, tackling prints. And
Alex Ross, everything he does is spendy. But
hell yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, I don't think I've ever paid more than what you'd pay for a Hot Toy for any art print that I own. I have some that are worth more than Hot Toys now. But like, I think the one I have is kind of hard to find and worth a lot. It's probably like $700. I bought it when it was $40.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's the timing is as when you get them, because especially for Alex Ross prints, when you get them, like the value goes up within a couple of months or a year, to be quite honest, because he makes a small batch. Of course, it's a small run. And once you get them, like, they sell out quick. It's just like a J&D statue. That's how quick his prints sell out. So you got to get your hands on them from definitely. All right. So what we're going to jump into now real quick, get through this. We're going to sprint through this one. But this was an interesting episode, to say the least, because we got a lot of reveals here. And like, we got a lot of, like, I want to say violence, like not violence, but like a lot of torture in this some bitch, like in this episode. I mean, it's like Andor. We got violence. We got like a slither of racism. We got, basically classism. We saw that, pretty much in this, where, we're finding out how the Empire ranks, even like it's a separation of like, aliens from human, I mean, it's really crazy. Like, this episode was a lot. It was a lot to unpack, and just the torture value. And then we got a surprise, two main surprises in this, bro, that just kind of like, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, really?
I was a 1-2 punch.
Yeah, like a really a 1-2 punch. But in the very beginning, we see Andor. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all right off the bat, this episode almost took me out. Like, I almost checked out of this episode in the very beginning, and you probably know why.
Oh yeah, everybody had to be in bare feet.
Yeah,
no wonder you hated this up.
Fucking episode, man. I was like,
no wonder. You know what? You know what? I should have known.
So
that is your worst fear. Not only in prison, but everybody in bare feet.
Yo, like,
you be on suicide watch.
I was like, did y'all have to fucking in the very beginning take their shoes off and then pan the camera down there? You just had to get like a straight up shot, like straight up, and they just kept doing it. I'm like, okay, you made your fucking point. Stop, please. But yeah, it almost took me out. I ain't gonna lie. It almost.
I love this episode.
Or maybe
It
it was
did.
written by the dude from House of Dragon.
Probably was.
There's
It def-
It's their middle finger.
yeah, it definitely probably was. But this episode was decent because even like, now watching this episode, Cece, did you get like did you feel that THX vibe from his film? Like just all white background, the soldiers in all black, and pretty much the prisoners on all white. It just kind of reminded me of the throwback to Lucas's first film, like one of his first films.
yes, and
The Exploration.
in full disclosure, I haven't seen that film, but yes, it reminded me of that, and also like a lot of Space Odyssey.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
And it was just so eerie. It was almost like, so I remember being impressed with the music that was going on in these prison scenes, because it was a lot of like oh, I don't know shit about music, like synthesized
Yeah, yeah,
stuff, like kind of
Yep.
techno-y, which I thought was interesting, because otherwise I almost forget. I think there was something to the fact that throughout most of this episode we didn't see daylight, like natural light. So I think almost like the prisoners in here, like with the 30 days that we've seen him, I think that's what it flashed forward to, is that he's been here for 30 days. I think the fact that this whole episode we only saw daylight when we were at Ferric, I
yeah.
think kind of made it seem like the scenes we saw in the prison were much longer than they actually were, and very isolating, like these prisoners probably felt, with the weird kind of like quiet hum of the music in the background, if that makes sense, and that electronic score. Holy shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and it's just like, if things couldn't get worse for Andor, if they couldn't get any worse, it's just like, but
Lava.
yeah, but you know what? I was thinking about this. I'm like, but honestly, if I had to go to prison, I'd probably go here and be cool. It's clean. You know what I mean? It's clean. Like
You're drinking out of a tube in the wall that doesn't taste like anything, but that's fine.
But this, yes, it's good. You
I'd
get
probably step on the floor too if I was eating out of a tube.
Yo, I mean, but it was decent to basically see, and I think, and here's the thing about this episode that kind of like, I was like, okay, now it's the discovery point. I think this episode, is the turning point for Andor, because there was so much symbolism in this, because it's teaching him how to work with a team. You know what I mean? It's teaching him how to work instead of just being an individual. Now you have to work with a team to survive. You know what I mean? And I think that this is what we're actually seeing, and the development in this episode. What did you think?
Well, I there were a lot of things that went through my mind. I saw THX 1138. I think that's what it's
Yeah.
called.
Mhm.
The other day, it was actually Saturday, because Turner Classic Movies during the entire month of October featured films that had robots in it, and so THX, the film, is very well known for the robots
Mhm.
that kind of run the show in
Yeah.
the film. And, they do use these prods that electrocute people. And we kind of saw that electrocution was the main way that they're controlling people here. But he needs to be in this prison. He needs to meet certain people to figure out what's going on. And despite their separation, apparently they can communicate using sign language. He
Yeah.
seems to be able to kind of run the show. And who knows, maybe he'll be a foreman like the other prisoner. I'm guessing that guy's a prisoner who's forcing all the teams to work all day long. They're 12-hour shifts. And I somehow don't think that taste in the food is anything special.
Nope.
But it does seem like a rather meager and sad existence. And even the people in the prison know that sentences are being doubled. A bunch of people are in there unfairly. Things are getting very, very bad. But at least he's not in a mine somewhere, right? He's in this munitions factory. This is what it seems like to me, or whatever it is they're building. And they'll keep him there as long as they can. But the thing that I think is very interesting is that we do see Mon Mothma at some point in this episode, as well as Andor, who both kind of been spoken to by Luthen in a certain way. And I almost have to wonder what Luthen might be up to, because I think I'm almost starting to doubt him a little bit. Because he managed to use the same line on Mon Mothma as he kind of used on Andor. So it seems like as soon as he grabs somebody into his realm or onto his side, people do question his tactics a little bit. And he has to have, the right lines to say to them to get them back on track. So I think he spends a lot of time trying to keep people on his side. But regardless, he wants to somehow now, of course, get rid of Andor. And I think it's really a shame, because if I were Luthen, I would just keep using him, knowing that I have the upper hand here. He's going to eventually find him in this prison. And I'm sure it's going to be through some weird communication, or somebody who sends a message somehow through these hand signals, this weird hand signaling, rotating hand thing. But it is so much fun to watch it, because I'm trying to figure out, how does he get out of that prison? Well, my first thought would be, wouldn't he just bribe somebody to get out of there? He still has the money, right? I mean, it's a lot of money. I'm sure he could buy his way out. But knowing Andor, he never does things the easy way. So
at all.
It's going to be the school of hard knocks. And who knows how he'll outsmart them. He's been observing every single detail. I'm sure he could run the place himself if he had to. So I think he's already maybe figured out one or two ways of how to get out of there. And it's going to be a fun adventure figuring out how he eventually does. They probably won't show us how he gets out, but it'll be interesting one day to find out how he manages to get out of this mess that he's in.
Yeah, but I think that, again, like what they're showing us is that he's right directly where he needs to be at this point. You know what I mean? Like, he has to, because we know that, again, he's not a team player. He only plays to his advantage. You know what I mean? We seen him cooperating with the team, during the heist, because he stood something to gain. Money, his cut. Then he can go out, buy the things he needs, still go on this mission to find his sister, so right now he was just selfish. And I think this is somewhat teaching him how to become more selfless and work in order with an actual team, which, thank God, because I mean, you got, we had to see the start somewhere where the change would be. At first I thought that we were going to see Saul Guerrero in that prison, but then it wouldn't have made sense, because there's no way in hell he would probably be in like a maximum type of prison situation, instead of being seen any other way. You know what I mean? So I'm so glad that we got a chance, to kind of see to see this version of Andor now, where he was fearless. Now he's just like, it's sort of like breaking him down. You know what I mean? Breaking him down to his, like, the bare bones, before he realizes what his, where his position is and what he's really supposed to be doing and how he can help instead of hindering. But then, I mean, we got a special somewhat surprise. I had no idea that Andy Serkis was going to actually be in this show. And if I'm just the only one that was out of the loop, let me know. But damn, like, really? Andy Serkis is, not only was he Snoke, now he's playing the manager of this prison section. Like what did you think when you saw Vinny?
I loved well, at first I was like, just interested in seeing the next thing that was going to be in his journey towards where we know where he winds up. And I was like, I want to see him stuck in a prison for a while. Like, what the fuck is the point? And then I quickly realized what the point was. The point to me at this point, it's like, it's not so much about Andor here. It's about the prison complex system. I mean, and the parallels between our world and here is so stunning and scary, because we're basically saying Empire utilized the 13th Amendment on a giant scale, just like indentured servitude. Like they need manpower, and slavery isn't legal on every system. So you come up with trumped up charges and use this robbery as justification, kind of in tune with how 9/11 gave them the rights to invoke the Privacy Act and get what they wanted through political means that they couldn't have gotten another way. So it was like really, really sophisticated from a symbolic standpoint. And I love all the just the the dread and the dreariness and the the totalitarianism and the weight. Like you're stressed out watching this shit. Like, oh, damn, he literally was just hanging out, walking around town, and he's stuck in a, like, for us, just it's one of the scariest things for us is like, imagine going to jail in a Russian or Mexican prison. Shit, imagine going to prison in another planet where you literally don't know any of the culture or anything. You don't know shit. That's fucking scary as hell. And then Andy Serkis pops up, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I had no idea. And I was so happy because I'm like, all right, I might not watch trailers, but shit like this always gets spoiled on social media. I don't think anybody knew this, or else I would have heard about it from somewhere. Because I'm pretty sure I heard rumors about Forrest Whitaker being on the show, but I didn't hear shit about Andy Serkis. I know I would have remembered that. And it's always awesome to see him getting to play a human being and not having to be in a body cam suit and with the bubbles all over him. So like, it's cool that he got to just be himself. This is such an amazing episode. I like to think in my mind like that they're making them build pieces of the Death Star, like, and ship it to the ship it out, and that is part of what they need labor for, or if not the Death Star, for one of the Imperial starships. And it's very, very likely that is what they're doing. I mean, in those prisons with the way that they were in the ocean, and it's just everything about it was just unbelievably cool. And the drill, like the way it was set up like a factory, like it didn't even matter. Like you weren't going to be fighting, you weren't going to be sneaking in contraband, you weren't going to be doing any of the bullshit that goes on in a regular prison. You were there for production. Yep,
strictly production, bro. And you had to put in work. And the thing is, they knew, again, it's a level of control. They're letting you know that pretty much it's a control. It's like a prison pipeline. That's exactly what it is.
The racism is a really clever writing tool, because you would imagine that there's species that are better mechanics than we are. Like we've seen other like species in different shows with like forearms, or like work better on, but they specifically Babu Frick, like you would think that, but for all we know, there's another prison with just his species in it. You know what I mean? Like, so it's almost like, okay, we're gonna eliminate any we're gonna, instead of separating the blacks and the whites, we're going to separate the humans and the Wookiees, whatever, so that way there's less likely to be infighting in the prison and more likely to get along because they all, speak the same language, et cetera, et cetera. So it makes so much sense from a totalitarianism like standpoint of what to do to just make sure that you get as much efficiency as possible, and all the ways that they go about. And then the magnetism as a like an enforcement, it reminded me of Face Off. Remember the magnetic boots? When they were pissed off, like it was locked down, everybody's boots just clamped down and you couldn't move. That reminded me of that too. And then of course the floor is lava. What a crazy ass setup for a prison. It's just there's so much to take away from this episode. I think one of my favorite parts though is when Cassian gets to the table and he's not bitching or crying or like, I don't belong here. Like he's like, in a way, part of his mind is feeling that, but he compartmentalized that part of him. Right. And in the moment, he's like, okay, I could sit here and whine and throw a fit and get thrown in a hole or get fucked up, and that ain't going to do me any good. Let me figure out how to adapt. Right. And that's what he's been doing his whole life.
That's all he's been doing is adapting.
Exactly. Adapting to his surroundings. And his surroundings right now is in these groups, it's a competition. And in order to survive and thrive in this situation I'm in, I have to put together this fucking machine that these guys are doing as best as possible. So he's just sitting there fucking studying them. It's some Batman shit. Like it literally was like he's just figuring it out from a strategic standpoint, just sitting there watching them like, okay, boom. You can see his mind working like all the shit he should be thinking, how we would be thinking. And many people would be like, yo, this is bullshit. What the fuck? And then not even being able to focus on what you're supposed to be paying attention to. He's just straight up like, all right, that goes there, this goes there, and he's learning. And it's so smart because we seen this during the heist where he wasn't, he was just there to do his job, get the fuck out of there. So he wasn't there to play games. He was there, all right, to get through this day, I have to put this thing together. All right, I'm gonna figure out how to put this together better than anybody else.
I feel like he's in the acceptance stage of grieving where he's like, this is, I guess, my life now.
Yeah, compartmentalize it. Like, what else can you do? Yeah.
Who doesn't think that he's helping to build the Death Star?
Absolutely. That's all I could think about was, what part of the Death Star are they working on?
Yep. Yep. It could be basically like just the main reactor. You know what I mean? Because that's what it sort of looks like. Because I wanted to actually pan on this and look at even, where the Death Star gunners were. I wanted to look and see what was around there. So there's, that this is what they're pretty much working on, which would even cause him to hate the Empire even more, to know that his hands are responsible for something that's literally about to take lives. Right. You know what I mean? So that's, more when you're thinking about it. But you're right. Like for him, it was just really, really strategic. It's like, all right, let me just sit back because I know if we win, we get more time. We get, a bit more space and freedom within this particular section. It's more relaxed at that particular point. But Cece, what were you thinking?
I think that. So actually, my first impression of what they could have been building was actually it was a little more meta. So I was thinking what they were building had absolutely no purpose. Almost like they've done studies where if they ask someone like, hey, for $1, can you put this puzzle together? And like, yeah, sure. And so they put the puzzle together and they get their $1. And then they're like, okay. And they take the puzzle apart and they're like, will you do it for $2? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then they put the puzzle back together. And then they're like, okay, will you do it for $5? And then the person finally says like, no, because they know you're just going to take the puzzle apart. Like no matter the incentive, knowing that you're going to do something and it's going to end up being nothing, like is so, I don't want to say degrading. It's very like discouraging, right? So I almost thought that whatever they're making has like almost next to no purpose. But Matt was
for all we know, there's another part of prison where it's their job to disassemble it.
Exactly. Like and Matt was like, honestly, that seems like such a waste of resources because we know that like the Wookiee slaves had something to do with the Death Star, that has to be what they're working on, that it has a purpose, because I don't think they could, even the Empire could ever afford to have labor that wasn't used for something, forced labor, slave labor. So I think that as cruel as I think it would be if that was the case, that they're building something for the sake of nothing, and that there's like, say, another, like Vinny said, another part of the prison that's actually taking all these things apart, and also how competitive it can be, where it feels like a game where it's like, okay, come on, like I think that gives them purpose almost. So, but yeah, I do think that they're working on the Death Star. I do wonder how Andor's going to find out if that's what the Death Star is, because it seems like he only really finds out about the Death Star during Rogue One, or maybe slightly before Rogue One. So I think that's curious if that opens up a few questions as to how does he find out about the Death Star, that he contributed to the building of the Death Star. So yeah, I think it raised more questions than answers.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously we know that he's not going to find out anything from Luthen, and he's not going to find out anything from Saul Guerrero, because I think the very first time that he actually met Saul and came close to Saul was during Rogue One, if I'm right. You know what I mean? Right. So we know that he's basically finding his own way through. And this could be, because they keep telling him that it's like a lot that they know that he does not know. He has no idea, what's going on. You know what I mean? But he's kind of piecing it, together. We saw who he was in the very beginning, but then 30 days later, we see that transition, so I think he's going to find out a lot more, from it. I'm just wondering how the fuck he's going to get outside this prison. You know what I mean? We also see that, and I want to go with you on this one, because we talked about this, and this dude is really starting to get the fuck on my nerves. I'm just going to be real. Like, literally, he's starting to annoy me now, because like, literally before I was like, yo, okay, I wanted to give him a pass. Like, maybe, again, we're going to see a slow transition with this guy. And, we'll see that, again, he wants to help the rebellion. But right now, I don't give two shits. This dude is getting on my nerves so bad, because he is obsessed. Like, it is becoming more so an obsession with, and even they're seeing it. They're like, yo, why are you're prodding around? You're just throwing out so many of these different scenarios and cases against, and everything's boiling back, or, narrowing down to Cassian Andor. Like, it's like basically a detective who is so enthralled and just in deep on a case becomes obsessed, with a killer or someone who's committed. Like, yeah. What did you think about it?
Well, I certainly would keep him nearby. I wouldn't let him go back home to that horrible desk job and, whatever it is he's doing. I would keep him there and, prevent him from having contact with anybody outside. So he wouldn't be sending all those requests and messages and everything, and just kind of figure out what to do with him, because he could make things very difficult going forward. He's kind of a loose cannon, and I thought that they were going to meet in this episode, as I said before, because her investigation was going to lead her to him because of that waypoint finder or whatever that piece of machinery is. But to be honest with you, he has the ambition, but I don't know if he has any real skill in finding anybody. He kind of botched up the last thing very badly. And, none of the men who were under him had any finesse, and they tried to follow orders. Okay. But they were not a trained unit. He could become part of a trained unit, and I think she could use him that way. But she seems, annoyed by him. He's not helpful to her. She doesn't feel like he has told her anything she doesn't already know. So there is that. He couldn't really offer her anything new. And if I were him, I'd be pleading my case. Please hire me or something, get me the hell out of this stupid job, or, I got to be on your team. But he isn't even promoting himself. No. Maybe his mother was right. Maybe he doesn't have any prospects right now, and he just doesn't know how to, make himself be marketable to this woman. I would be promising her all sorts of shit that I couldn't deliver just to get out of that job. I'm like, I can get that bastard. I promise you I can get him. I will do everything I can. She might actually pay attention to it for a little while, get him out of that. But if he had any common sense, this was his only 5 minutes to talk to her. Yeah. He really needed to make a super strong impression here, and it was very poor. Let's see what happens to him. He might end up in that prison one day. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Like, we see that she's definitely, we know she's using him to her own advantage. She knows that he's reckless, that he has no idea actually what he's looking for. But she knows that he has no idea the bigger picture, put it that way. He's just focused in on one person, just a sign of revenge for two of his friends or colleagues that were killed. He's looking at that aspect instead of looking at the influence that there is someone behind Cassian that has all this actually happening. And that's what has her, through him, we see them going back to the planet where Andor came from, and, capturing Bix. We see now that she's been captured, and her involvement now. So again, he's just being used for a lot, but for him, he's trying to prove himself when she just doesn't give two fucks. She don't care about him. You know what I mean? She really doesn't. I don't care what you're trying to do. I'm just going to use you for information. Give me all what I need. And, just feed him a lot of bullshit. And he's just going to go along with it. But it's just like, he's a mama's boy. Like, he's so like a mommy's boy, but he just has no direction. Like, he knows what he wants, but he doesn't have the decorum to try to at least calm himself. And, like you said, feed her a whole bunch of bullshit to get what you want. But right now he's so obsessed and just reckless that it's just not working. Cece, what did you think about it?
Sorry, I was drinking. I do think that she probably looks at him like we look at him, where he's like a rent-a-cop who's trying to inject himself into an investigation. And so she sees her as like up high and him like down low, like definitely beneath her. Do I find him annoying? Absolutely. But I feel like you need that balance, because either you have a villain who's ruthless or one you love to hate, like i.e. Joffrey from Game of Thrones. So I do think that he is going to end up being probably an asset to the Empire somehow. But that remains to be seen, because right now he's kind of failing at trying to keep a low profile, and that he's searching for Andor by making fraudulent requests. So that's not the way you impress someone and convince them that you belong in the Empire and the ISB. So I think it will be interesting to see if maybe by no actions on their part, on Deidre's part, if he ends up like straight up showing up on Ferric and messing with the investigation, or kind of like injecting himself to a point where he has to be involved. Like they have to bring him in to the fold, whether they like it or not, just because he's fucked up and made it a point that there's no turning back. Like either they involve him at some point, or let him just be pathetic, or it becomes a situation where it's almost like too unsafe to let him just exist and not be a part of the ISB. But it is interesting that he keeps popping up. I just don't know how they're going to like loop him into things, because right now he seems very pathetic as always.
Yeah, he definitely does. It's like, when is his turning point where we're going to recognize that he's there, you know, that what his if he recognizes his own true potential and just snaps out and be like, you know what, fuck everything. You know what I mean? I'm just going to do this shit my way. The Empire is going to recognize, the only way they can basically recognize is through action. You know what I mean? Through positive action that they stand to gain from, if I can be the one, the orchestrator at that point. And right now he's not showing us that. You know what I mean? He's like a little bitch, like in a sense, like this is what we're seeing, is like, come on, man, you could do better. But what are we going to say, Vinny?
Yeah, he's written as kind of the much less interesting Reva of the show, just obsessed with catching the main criminal for status and notoriety, to climb the ladder to be somebody. And it's a odd choice. I do like him more now than when the show started, because he doesn't have the goofiness of the other rent-a-cops, making it like as corny and cheesy as that was those first couple episodes with that little click there. But I do like that he clearly has to know how dangerous and serious it is to defy the Empire and continue to file those reports and talk back to her when he's being scolded for it. So I do like that he's getting like a little bit of balls and his exploits, but it's very it's just odd, you know what I mean? Like of all the different things, like, because she seems to believe him, but it's like, okay, but we said we got it from here. Like, what are you gonna do that the weight of the Empire can't go back to work? So,
Exactly. That's it. And we see, and here's the thing, like for me, I'm trying to, okay, so if I sit through this and I'm watching it, I'm trying to basically figure out what Vel and Cinta's purpose right now. So, and I kind of figured it. So they're going back to, Cassian's, temporary home, where he was from, or where he was.
Right.
Are they trying to use, or trying to get intel to find out where he is, and that's why they're there?
Yeah, I imagine that they figure he told Bix where he was going.
Yeah.
Or not his mom, his mom, or not his guardian, where he was going. What's really weird, though, is Bix's reaction to him being missing, because he came home and basically was like, all right, I'm back. I got some cheese. Yo, let's get out of here. Let's go run away together. And she was like, nah. She was like, nah, I'm good. Get out of here, kid. Like, you're bothering me. Like, fuck you. Go away. Like, you brought all this drama. And now she acts like she gives a shit about him. I ain't like that. It doesn't make any sense. Why would
It didn't.
obviously he's hiding. Why would you go out of the way to try to find him, which is just going to like make it easier for them to find him if you do. They're
Yeah.
here looking for him and you're trying to like let him hide. Like obviously you didn't care about where he was or where he was gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And that's the
that was
thing.
weird.
It is. And that's what I don't get. Like, because I mean, I guess that part of it is where I'm at. Like, you had every opportunity to go where he was, but again, and maybe his circumstances wouldn't be as dire as they are right now. But I mean, again, there's rhyme or reason for everything, and there's a purpose for everything. Now she's been captured. His point was to get her off world where she wasn't, wouldn't be so caught up and recognizable and all this shit, and anything that ties back to him, at least it would be to his advantage. But now we're seeing, that she's been captured now. But at the same time, it's like now I wanted to know, we know Vel is there, and from the directive we got from Luthen, and it's sort of like, well, we got to tie up loose ends and kill.
Yeah.
Imagine, like, he knows who I am, he knows my name, so we have to take him out. But then Vel, she seems reluctant, like relevant, like she seems like not really in it, like she doesn't want to do
on
it.
the heist too.
She's very reluctant, like, you know what I mean, like she doesn't want to do it. And I think she sees it, like she knows, look, are you really, Vel? Is this what you really want to do? Like, what are we doing here? Type of situation. Like, we can leave. Like, we can leave. We can escape. We have our cut. We can go. But what are we doing here? Like, you know what I mean? So it's a lot, dealing with that. I don't know. I mean, I'm just really, but I like Vel's character. Like, I really do like the character. I like their chemistry together. Both her, and Cinta. But
Cinta's fun as shit, man. Like,
yeah,
forget about Bix, man. Just move on.
Yeah.
Get you a Cinta.
Yeah, get you a Cinta, of course. And then later on, we see that. Now, here's the thing, because I found this online and I'm like, is this true? And I was like, how the fuck did I miss this? But, are we looking at, let me pull this up. Is this, really quick, hold on. As soon as I get it, is this Mousy? Like, is this the same person we saw in Rogue One?
I don't know, maybe.
Or is it just me? That's what I'm like, is that Mousy? It can't be. I don't know. Anyway, it just, I'm looking at it like, could it be? But maybe it's not.
He lost a lot of hair in 4 years.
What'd you say?
He lost a lot of hair in 4 years.
And went gray. You know what I mean? Like, straight up. So I don't know. It looks like it could be the same character.
Building the Death Star's
so there's Islamic is like, yes, that is Mousy. So that is him. So that's Mousy. So wait a minute. So basically, is this how they meet and they form an alliance? So it's sort of like Andor's meeting, or forming partnership of individuals who are part of the rebellion now and are going to be. And is this what we're seeing, like a precursor to that? Like, is this, how we're finding these individuals?
That's a little on the nose that he was radicalized to the rebellion in prison, but that's fine.
I mean,
that would make sense, right?
I mean, but is it like, it's just like, I don't know, because again, like there's code translation, like these people are doing a lot. Maybe like, I mean, we know that sometimes people use individuals on the inside to get information and intel. You know what I mean? So we know that the rebellion can have ties to people that are inside, and again, we know that this is a prison pipeline. They're creating certain things, again, we know that, we're seeing the beginnings and machinations that could be tied in with the Death Star. So I don't know. It could be possible, but then we also see that just like the Empire uses individuals, the rebellion does the same thing. They're using people for their advantage. So it's like the two-party system doesn't work anywhere in the galaxy. You know what I mean? It just sucks. You know what I mean? But then we actually move on. We actually see that, Luthen is on his way to meet the one and only Saul Guerrero, who has no, he's not talking through any type of mechanism, or he's really talking. But first, I'm sorry, I didn't want to skip this though. I had to go this first. I have to go to this first because we talked about this before. I think we talked about this behind the scenes. And I'm really y'all hitting on something. You're hitting right on the nose or something. I mean, first off, look at Mon Mothma, man. Like, this is Mon Mothma. She is a beautiful woman, man. Like, she's such a beautiful character, and her wardrobe is on point. Like, whoever styles this woman, like, they are killing it. Like, the wardrobe in this show is incredible. But what'd you say?
I think the heaviest part of the scene was realizing that she got kind of arranged marriage with her husband at 15. And so she must have spent the past 30 years with some dude she hates.
That she really doesn't like.
No wonder she wants to be in a rebellion. She wants
out.
This is all long con to just get away from him.
Yeah, she wants out. Like, she wants out of the situation because it's not working, for her. It's not working basically in her favor. And again, but you guys are on to something. Like, what if her best friend is working with, the Empire, and just trying to get intel? And
That you mean that dude that she's grooming?
Well, yeah,
because I don't trust him.
Yeah, like I said this before. Like, I just don't. What if he?
I don't remember his name, but he feels off.
Like, shady as hell. Like, something is just not all there.
Because he's like, he hasn't committed to shit, but he's always like, yeah, tell me more.
Yeah. Like that. I don't know. Like, it just seems like there's something behind it, in a sense. Like, he's, and now he's, and just like his daughter, like the daughter pointed out, like, you're here a lot now. Like, what I mean? Like, he's taking an interest, to Coruscant and being around her more. So it's just like, yeah, it seems shady. And the thing is, someone as smart as her, being a politician or being on the Senate, she should know better than to give off so much information, because nothing is really necessarily happening at this point. But I don't know. I don't know what you think.
Well, I think that she's probably been sleeping with this guy for years, and she trusts him because they've had an intimate relationship. He's too hot for her to kind of push away. I'm sorry, but that's how I see it. And she feels she can trust him with her life. And I think that she's going to do that, and he may betray her, but I don't think he's going to get the best of her. She may lose all of her wealth. But honestly, I feel like Mon Mothma is alone when it comes to allies. And it's true that she's been speaking to Luthen as well, but I don't think he has her back either. I think she's all out in the open on her own. There isn't anybody who really she can kind of escape to, and it must be very dangerous for her, a very precarious situation. She really feels exposed, but at least she had a good run with the banker.
I do think
laid it out, laid it out. Poor Mom, damn, blew up Mon Mothma.
They're very tight. That's all. I mean, they're very tight with one another. He does know her in a way, and that's why her husband's so jealous. So
I do think it's like too terribly convenient that she is very close and a childhood friend of someone who also hates or has said enough polarizing things about the Empire that she thinks that makes him a trustworthy person to rope into this. Whereas part of me feels if he is a childhood friend and understands the awful dynamic she has with her husband, why not lie to him or say her half-truth that she can't get access to her own money that she's maybe inherited, I think she said, and just make it about, oh, I'm in a repressed marriage and, my husband hasn't given me independence to manage my own finances, as opposed to all of that. And also, hey, I kind of hate the Empire, and I'm rebelling against the Empire, and I need to finance that. So I'm gonna need cash now. Okay, thanks. Like pay loan. It just seems very, and I do think, and I mentioned this to Lael off screen, that this show is definitely more adult than we've seen, with the brothel references and death and alcohol and like all that kind of stuff. And I think with the daughter, it was a very strange introduction to see her in this episode, where it was like, it's you. Like, yeah, we've met, and she's socially awkward because, you know, she's a teenager. That happens. Like, if she was in this universe, she'd be wearing Hot Topic and hating everyone.
Yeah.
I think they are setting it up for, if they're not having an affair, that is the story that they go with as to why they're spending so much time with each other, and why maybe her husband is incredibly suspicious of him. Not necessarily like, I do think that is something that would exploit, where it's like, oh, I'm not financing a rebellion, I'm just sleeping with my friend, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So,
or maybe both.
Yeah, I mean, have your cake and eat it too.
Pretty much so. That's pretty much so from what we know. And again, like I said, I mean, I just think that she can't be as loose, or maybe even she may suspect certain things. You know what I mean? You know, but even Luthen was trying to tell her, you know, like, yo, we can't just keep adding people to the fray. You know what I mean? And we don't know who we can trust at this particular point, especially anybody that's, you know, connected, you know, to the Senate, or, you know, even though he's saying he doesn't like the Empire. I don't know, unless he proves otherwise. Is this something that's kind of off about this dude?
Yeah.
You know, that you can't really suspect. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't know what side of the coin he lies on. Like, it's hard to tell. But then we basically, again, we move on to see that you know, Luthen is on his way to finally introduce us to Saul Guerrero. We get a chance to actually see him. He's not using any type of apparatus to talk through or to breathe. He has, I guess at this point, he still has both his legs.
We haven't seen Borgullet.
Oh yeah, Borgullet. Yeah, we definitely haven't seen that. You know, but we do see this portion. Now, here's the thing, though, because, well, no, never mind, because it makes sense. It makes sense, because I was about to say, like, he has longer hair now than he did, you know, in the beginning of Rogue One, but I forgot the age difference, because at that time, General Soul was a kid. And that's when we see him when he had the shorter hair. Then we see him with the longer hair, so it makes perfectly good sense. But yeah, we see this, and the banter back and forth between these two. It was like
an Emmy performance, bro.
Yeah, bro. Like, who got the bigger balls, me or you? You know, who's the bitch, me or you? You know what I mean? Like, it was just back and forth, and it was dope. Like, this scene was so dope. I love the conversation. What did you think, B?
I was just sitting there in awe, because I knew he was going to be on the show at some point. I wasn't aware it'd be this early, and I was loving it. It was like Luthen, like, definitely met his match as far as just cunning. Like, he was sitting there like, oh, I want you to work with this dude. I got these parts. All right, I'll cut you a check for the parts. Fuck your dude. It's like he didn't give a shit. Luthen didn't give a shit. It was like two guys who knew what they had was more valuable, too valuable to give up, and they weren't going to be played. Mm-hmm. And then you also have the dynamic that two people who are also stubborn and probably have a hard time making their way to get to their end goal, because they're so stubborn and unwilling to budge. And it was really cool just seeing Forrest just like, he came to work. Like, his sleeves was rolled up, and he was passionate as fuck. Like, just this dude is clearly somebody who is not going to take what the world hands him and be happy with it. He wants to make a change, and he's going to go after it. Like, this is like an aggressive, charismatic, impressive, like, just beautiful performance in a couple minutes. Yep. Like, I mean, if nothing else interesting happened during this episode, I would have loved this episode anyway from what he gave.
Yep.
It was amazing.
Yep. It was definitely amazing. Just the exchange. And now, which it's setting up, you know, that course, you know, of what's going to happen next. I think it's, again, we have only 4 episodes left. Is that's right? 4 episodes left, which is amazing because I forgot all about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As you get in, because you get in so in transit in these episodes, you forget about the next. You know what I mean? But and then we end this episode or this episode off with Andor getting more comfortable with the team. You know what I mean? Like he's really more in tune and like you said, more calculated where he's figuring things out. Okay, this is what I have to do to survive. You know what I mean? But he is basically working with the team. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. And I'm hoping that we at least get to that point in the next few episodes, because I know that the second season they said it's going to be a huge time jump. You know what I mean? So yeah. All in all, I thought this episode was phenomenal, man. Like it just keeps growing and getting better and better. With each episode, they just keep getting better and better. You know what I mean? And it's like to the point where, like I said, I'm following the narrative, I'm following the show, but I'm just looking everywhere else. I'm trying to pick out like just the signs of everything, and we're going to see. There's going to be more reveals of individuals. I'm basically just wondering if we are going to see Krennic. You know what I mean? At all. You know what I mean? If we see Ben Mendelsohn, if we actually get a chance to see him, I don't know. But what do you think? We think we'll possibly see Krennic before the end of this season?
No, I would save him for a second part.
Second season?
Yeah. Especially if there's a time jump. And I imagine that his role would be more necessary or defined when we get to the next phase that's closer to the Rogue One film.
Yeah.
But then again, who knows? I mean, we could see him earlier too. I love that we already got Saul, so I could see if Krennic is the other, big name from Rogue One, I could see them saving that for the second season since we got Saul already.
Yeah, definitely. 12 seasons. Season 1, 12. See, yep. So 12 episodes, season 1, 12 episodes, season 2. Yeah. So I mean, all in all, this week we got some very good Star Wars. I must say.
Oh yeah,
we did. We got some very good. CC, I'm telling you, when you get some time this weekend, you have to watch.
Yes.
Tales of the Jedi, because I mean, the thing is, both came out yesterday, but clearly the clear winner of yesterday was Tales. It was the clear winner. Even though Andor was good, it was a clear winner.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I actually wasn't terribly impressed with this week's Andor, but I think for that reason, I'm more excited to watch Tales of the Jedi just because of how enthusiastic you guys have been about it. So I do appreciate listening to you guys talk about it with very little expectations. Hadn't seen a trailer or anything like that. Still haven't. So
yeah.
There
you go. See, you can see what it's like. Then afterwards, you watch the trailer, and be like, "Oh, see, look at all that they would have ruined if I went in blind."
I also think that more of this Tales of the Jedi that we'll be seeing, more people are also going to want to watch the Clone Wars if they haven't already watched that.
Yep, they will. They definitely will.
I hope so. I really hope so. I hope that that's another gateway to that drug because it's such a great high.
Yeah, it definitely is. And it was the thing is, it's like the fillers. These are the fillers, not the fillers, but the background that we wanted to see. I mean, of these characters. I didn't think that I was going to be, honestly, I did not think I was going to be as interested in Ahsoka's homeworld as I am now. Yeah. You know what I mean? And, and Dooku, I was so excited to see how his story plays out, but yeah, clearly, you know what I mean?
And I wasn't blown away by Visions. So I love this version of an anthology much, much more.
But here's the thing, like that first episode of Visions, I was in. I love that
first episode. Then it was the rest. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, the first episode they killed it. Everything else, it kind of just went a certain direction.
Yeah. And that one felt more like the anthology series to me.
That belongs in this type of world. Everything else was just kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's just say not for me.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, clearly, like CC, once you watch it, you'll know that it did win the day yesterday. It did, because I was so as I remember, I was doing the show last night, and I went up and Toya was watching you know, I thought she would be watching Andor, but she started watching you know, Tales instead. And we just loved it. Like literally, and that's why I'm like, yo, Dave, we need more. Like after you watch it, I'm like, Dave, we need more. We need more because this is gonna make more sense. And I just can't wait to see it. You know, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, guys out there, let us know what you think. If you liked it, I mean, again, I'm with you, CC. Like, I liked yesterday's episode. I definitely like yesterday's episode, but it wasn't the vibe that I got from the others, but it was still connective and I still like the dialogue. So even though, like I said, Tells won the day, episode 8 of Andor between the two was, you know, the least in my opinion, but it was still good. And that speaks a lot when you have two, very good content dropping on the same day, but you have so much to watch. You know what I mean?
The lesser of two angels.
Yeah, exactly. The lesser of two angels, but I definitely did love it. Everybody out there, let me know what you think. If you liked it, if you were all in on it like I was and like we were, let us know. Cece, what you got coming up next? What can we expect from you?
So we do have group therapy tomorrow. And then I think that's it. So yeah, we just have group therapy tomorrow, and then I unboxed the Sideshow premium format Batman Begins. It's up there on Monday with the cruise. If you want to check out the replay on that, feel free.
Hell yeah.
And then of course we'll be doing Andor again Tuesday night, depending on where you're from, or Wednesday morning. We'll be doing the live on. And then I'm going on vacation. So yep, that's all I've got.
Yeah, where you going?
Just a cruise. My friend's getting married. So we're going down to Nassau and back. So it should be a good time. Lots of walking around, eating and drinking. Those are my favorite things.
I like how you casually said just a cruise.
Just a cruise.
Just a cruise. Just nice.
Well, I mean, because they just released the art for Star Wars Celebration London. So that's why I'm like, this is just a cruise for 3 days versus.
Did they? For real?
April. Yeah, but I'm not happy with it. It's because someone found the vector where they took the art from some other artists to make it.
Okay.
So it's not as creative as what we had at Celebration Anaheim.
At Celebration in Anaheim, yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still excited though. I'm super duper excited. I cannot fucking wait. It's gonna be incredible. But yeah, CC, thank you for coming through. Please follow CC3PO at Rogue16 on IG and YouTube. Make sure that you do. Great stuff. And the Prince coming kills with the Prince. What can we see from you next?
Well, tomorrow I'm going to be on Midnight's Edge in the morning with Tom and Andre at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And in the evening, I'll be on Lorena Creole's channel. We're going to be doing a watch party of Afro Samurai. I couldn't remember what it was called. And then, of course, Lael, I think it's either going to be Friday or Saturday. We're going to be in our show, Midnight Musings, on the Post Geek Singularity with Robert. Mm-hmm. And, of course, my Sunday brunch show on Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we do all the parlay in the fandom, followed by my Monday night show on the Post Geek Singularity, Ladies of the PGS, at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please do check it out.
Hell yeah. Make sure you actually follow on Burnett Network, Midnight Metal, PGS All Stars, Positive Fandom. You know where we reach. You know where we're at. So definitely make sure that you do so. Great content as always.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, as always.
Definitely, as always. Vinny, what's going on over there at Vincent Dunn Art? What can we expect? Because we're still in Inktober.
Still in Inktober. Got a few days left. And, every day you can see whatever was the prompt murder that day, my, depiction of it on Vincent Dunn Art on IG. And then I typically have regular prints that I do that's for sale. But with Inktober, usually I just take ones that people have, asked for prints of throughout the month, or some that I just think that I'd like to, make prints of as well. And then those will eventually be available on vincentdunnart.storenvy.com that you can see the link to on my site as well to pick those up. So I have a few more days of Inktober. I had a lot of fun with it so far this month. I've miraculously managed to keep up with each day on time, which is it's been like a part-time job, but I love it. I can't wait to finish out this home stretch here, see the light at the end of the tunnel, because detailed, few hour piece every single day is definitely a lot, but I've been having a blast with it. It's a lot of creativity. I'm also loving seeing what everybody else is doing with their versions of each word. So it's a lot of fun. Comic book talk with friends on Mondays, more Uncivilized Scoundrels on Thursdays, talking Andor and whatever else comes down the pike as we go through the week. And
yes.
that's about it, man. I'm just looking forward to seeing where we go from here with Andor, and what else that they got for us on the way. I'm loving how much and amazing Star Wars content that we've been served up on a beautiful silver prison plate. It's been amazing.
Yeah, definitely. So make sure you follow Vincent Dunn Art on Instagram, and also the link to his store is there as well. So you want to actually get some prints, you can dip in there and make sure you do. What do I got going on? There will be no, I got to put this out there, there will be no Figure Flex Friday tomorrow, as Toy and I will be celebrating our anniversary this weekend. So we'll not be doing.
And
Congratulations.
And for those that don't know, Leo's birthday was just the other day. So again, happy birthday once again, young man.
Appreciate it.
Yes,
Appreciate
indeed.
it. Appreciate it. I am almost at the half century mark. So definitely I am a year away from the half century mark. I'll be 50 next October. Damn.
Jeez.
Damn. I need some of that. I know. Damn,
like,
bro.
Like Kevin Hart. Like, damn. I'm sorry.
I know. I need some of that Yoda midichlorian. I need some of that Yoda juice, man. 500.
We gotta get you all right. I know.
5,000 year old.
When 50 years old, you read look as good you were not.
Exactly, right. So that's where I'm at. So yeah, there will be no Figure Flex, but there will probably be Collectors Lounge on Sunday. Pretty much figure that out. But yeah, we got a lot going on again next week. Comic book talk with friends. There's gonna be a lot to talk about that day, bro. There's gonna be a lot to really talk about that day, bro. Like straight up, because there's a lot going on right now. So there's gonna be a lot to really talk about.
The next 3 weeks dodging Wakanda trailers because it had a premiere.
Yep, the premiere and
Wakanda talk.
Yeah, they did. And the biggest thing though that I liked for what they said was all people said it was good. I just needed to know it was good, and that's it. And also that they did name more justice, and I'm happy about that. So I'm good. Everything else doesn't, when I see it, I'll see it. But yeah, I'm so excited about that. Again, everybody out there, thank you for coming and thank you for being here tonight. Mario, hopefully we check him out next week. I think we'll be on his show next week. I don't know. I got to find out if he's going to actually have it on his channel next week.
Shout out Mario.
But, yeah, shout out to Mario. Hope everything is cool, man. But we'll see you next week. But until next week, everybody, stay safe. May the force be with you. But as always, stay uncivilized and always a scoundrel. We are out. Peace, 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 peace.
So uncivilized.